hit subscribe. Subscribe to my guy, Uncle D. Tell him Big Bad sent you.
Spurling. I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas, an advocate for black men, largely because I am a black man. I'm a black father, I have black sons. Hey man, I do what I do. My name is Dennis Spurling. I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas. My mandate is to be an advocate for black men, largely because I am a black man. I'm a black father, I have black sons, and I want to make sure that the issues confronting black men are defended, protected, enunciated, spoke upon by black men who have a vested interest in the black community. And so my draw to the Black Manosphere, or YouTube in general, to use my voice, my wisdom, my experience, was solely because black men weren't being heard. But they're hearing us now. They're hearing us as to our issues related to modern relationships, politics, education, finance, and so many other things. And I'm extremely proud of these gentlemen. I'm extremely proud of the people who put this together. It is a wonderful event, and I look forward to attending in the years to come. Hey man, I do what I do.
I said, here's my $250,000. I want this to air there. So I didn't have to kiss no butt. I know I wasn't. Damn sure ain't gonna put on the dress and wouldn't let my sons do it. If we don't own it, we don't have nothing to do with it. Either we're the shot callers, because we're not gonna be in, or we're not involved.
Dennis go back like 2 Chainz. He graduated law school, I graduated in the boot gang. In the courtroom, I'm Uncle Luke, man. Got me banned in America, they loot me like Lupe. On the cell block, call me Luke Cage. Dog man hero, he the new beige. Cause Joe Black ain't like my black. We built this motherfucking country off of our back.
No more money for you. You working. No more money for you. It's lazy, you lazy. You lazy!
Get the out of here. Shut the up.
You run your mouth, we lazy, where you top at? You got ops getting paid off of our tax. Black pressure, we created hip-hop, yes sir. How you bust a bus, had to dress up. Time to come to check up. Since we taking niggas, rude boy need to fess up. Don't call us when you tell us get the hiccups. Hold your nuts, fight back, the clean shit up. NBA hit them, rock and roll, jazz music, hip-hop rhythm. I cosplay like a rude boy, get them. Harriet, Rosa Parks, even Shirley Chisholm. Even Shirley Chisholm? I reckon lineage, a runner, you love to kick it. We delineated, escaping niggas who wicked. My black is the black that they hate to see when we winning. Your black is the black that they bleach to look like the villain.
Here's a picture of what my skin used to look like.
Damn.
And this is what my skin looks like now.
Shut up, you stupid cunt. All you do is complain.
Your black nothing like my black. It's all my got my back. Harriet Tubman, train track. 400 years still ain't got the change back. Yo, black nothing like my black. Listen King, Uncle T, you know the top black. Big Bass know the game, take you out back. Imitate me of right, you know my black.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
99 biggest promises Biden made to people, he's only following through on about 30% of them. One thing America doesn't forgive is weakness. They want to see you fighting for your goals. And on some key issues, Biden seems to be waving the white flag. He just looks weak, and I'm not talking about physically. People want to see their president going to the mat to get what he wants. And it doesn't help that anytime Biden does take a strong stand on something, his staff comes out to say he didn't mean it.
I'm up real early to fall for the same politics. I plus the toilet. You talking ain't money, you need to burn it. Voting from the couch, watching dinners and all the spurlers. You with my earnings. How many times you gotta pull the same Democratic trick? Banana in the tailpipe. Since Obama like dreaming of eggplants and bananas, please tell him get his tail right. I need a friend that can stand on business. I can give a damn about all the race. If you're scared, pick a grave and lie in it. Dealing with it, faced it. How the bottom of other countries come to where we live and elevated like tomorrow. But you ain't got no reparations for me, but got billions for immigrants to borrow. Soft genocide Chicago. Them dirty ooze up in New York. Them race baiters down in Texas. And Memphis smoking us like a Newport. So sweet games is a new sport. Deleting us through your politics. We playing ball on a new court. America, come out of it. Yo, black, nothing like my black. It's all my got my back. Harriet Tubman, train tracks. 400 years, still ain't got the chains back. Yo, black, nothing like my black. Lizard King, Uncle T, you know the top hat. Big Bass know the game, take you out back. Imitate to me a rush, you know my black.
Just like a culture is like a computer program, there's a frequency by which things occur. And when you have a defective culture that is, and it's been like this since we were in the motherland, a divisive, argumentative, conflict-filled culture, there's always going to be opportunity for division unless you change the actual culture. Some of the brothers say you got to change the code, you got to change the actual culture. There are always going to be incidents that we can focus on to keep us divided.
I'm your king.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast. Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here again with you all. I am truly blessed to be able to be a voice in this vast sea of voices that you all listen to on a regular basis. I want to personally thank you all for coming through. I'm going in, how many years have I been here now? This is half a decade. So night in and night out, and we are just growing and growing and growing. And the thing is, the thing I'm most proud is that, number one, I've been able to maintain my integrity. I'm true to myself, what I do. I give you all facts. I try to tie in facts, and I'm honest with you all. You see, I don't just jump on the bandwagon, and I'm not one of these people that, rides the algorithm. If you understand, I'm not just going to jump on every hot story as soon as it breaks so that I can get a bunch of followers. Because what I really want is people to learn something. Everybody in the chat room type learn something. Somebody type learn something. And that's really what I'm into, because I understand that the internet is forever, which means that what I do today, people will be watching for decades to come. And so I want to definitely have things of substance for you all to relate back to. Well, anyway, family, as you know, my name is Dennis Spurling, and I am a podcaster. Someone recently referred to me as a social scientist, and I certainly do appreciate that. I don't have any formal degrees in that. By training, I'm an attorney. Technically, I'm an environmental attorney, interestingly enough. Other than that, I do have an extensive background in science, but no social science. It's really everything that I do really just comes from observation. But the one thing is you can validate my degree. Shout out to Grambling State University, where I got my bachelor's degree. Southern University Law Center, where I attained my first law degree, JD. And Tulane Law School, where I got my LLM, and they're all in the country. You understand what I'm saying? Like I didn't go to any foreign countries to get my degrees. I'm not knocking anybody who got their degrees from foreign countries, but I got all mine in Louisiana for the most part before I moved to Texas. And I actually went to TSU for a few years working on a couple of PhDs, but I was not able to finish that. I just had to get back to work. But all my degrees, y'all can look, y'all can Google me, Uncle D. You can call the dean right now. Y'all will see Uncle D is I'm validated, praise God, because I know it's a lot of YouTubers out there. They got degrees, but they I don't know. they say they have a lot of degrees, praise God. I'm not knocking anybody, but I'm telling you, y'all can find mine, baby. You can find Uncle D. I ain't go to the University of Haiti. I didn't go to the University of Haiti. The closest I got to Haiti was over there in Dominican Republic on that little street right there where them girls be. hanging out. That's it. That's the closest I got. But anyway, let me not get sidetracked, man. Look, man, white people are malfunctioning. I want all the white people. Where the white people at? Come on, all you white folks. I want y'all to come straight to the front of the room right now. Today is your day. You all will never accuse Uncle D. Somebody say I'm messy. You right. I'll be looking like, I'll be looking out the window. What's going on? I don't say nothing. I mind my business. I don't get in nobody. I don't say names. I don't name names, but y'all know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. Anyway, and I was shocked to hear that. I didn't know. I just believe people like, golly, I mean, why would you, make up that? I mean, whatever. None of my business. Whew. Anyway, but over here on the validated, the greed side of YouTube, where, our degrees are able to be validated and easily, you can go, check me out. Anyway. I'm gonna move on to the next subject, but yeah, you white folks are gone y'all are crazy. Y'all just lost y'all mind. And what's going on in Minnesota right now? I mean, y'all have seen the videos. These white folks have gone crazy. They have lost their mind. They have lost their whole mind. You understand me? It's not just routine civic protests, okay? These white people breaking the normal incentive structure of their own racial order, and it's happening in real time. So in Minneapolis, streets have become flashpoints. You got federal officers, ICE, you got DHS agents stationed at Bishop Henry Whipple Federal Building, and you have people outside. You got people outside keeping them up all night. Okay, tear gas is being deployed, smoke, flashbangs. You understand what I'm saying? People are just—it's chaos up there. And this didn't start with Black Americans being hunted down and targeted by local police. It began with an ICE operation when a white woman, Renee Good, rest in peace, was shot and killed during an operation. This 37-year-old woman. And we saw it on video. I'm definitely not going to play it here because I certainly don't want YouTube to ban me for that. But, they shot her a bunch of times in her car. And the ICE enforcement agents, right, they came back with overwhelming force, and it's just crazy. You see what I'm saying? And but what's truly malfunctioning is the reaction of hundreds and thousands, mostly white protesters, who've gathered not to de-escalate, okay, not to de-escalate at all, okay, not to strategize. Not to check facts or pursue some orderly reform, but to surround the federal building, throw projectiles, assault the agents, and basically just escalate the thing, man. You see what I'm saying? And not just with signs and chants. They're throwing rocks. They confront federal agents directly. They're demanding ICE leave the city entirely. And, let me say this clear. There's no credible report showing any Black folks up there organizing, doing anything. We are not involved in these violent confrontations. We're resting. You see what I'm saying? Now, of course, you're going to have a few brothers and sisters up there somewhere, but the protests are dominated by white activists and agitators responding emotionally to these federal law enforcement agencies. And the city leadership themselves have publicly called, call for more. You see what I'm saying? And the crowd is pushing forward. And here's the thing. A lot of these folks, they had disputes with the federal investigators over access to the evidence and how the shooting is being investigated. The FBI said, we're going to take over. And the local authorities said, no, we want to take over. And the FBI said, no, y'all sit down. And part of the broader political conflict is that, this is not a spontaneous uprising in the Black communities like we're used to. And as tensions rise nationally, including from the president, this man is talking about invoking the Insurrection Act. This is an act that was around in the 1700s. just to put these other white people down. And I mean, that means the military, that's military force on the streets of a major American city. And so the situation is basically out of control. And this is not black resistance. It's not about police shooting. And this isn't historically grounded in a movement born of decades of systematic oppression. This is white Americans disrupting order because federal agents enforcing American policy that's been on the books for decades, right? That's overwhelmingly affecting non-white people. Okay. And so now white people are pushing back against that. And look, these well-meaning white people, okay, arguing with white supremacist enforcement. All right. And no matter what you say, it is very racist what's going on. Now, look, again, many of the people who support my channel support what's going on. But we have to recognize that this is the targeting of black immigrants and brown immigrants and Asian immigrants. Okay, so let's just keep it 100. We can be honest and still support it. Okay, but it is what it is. And we're not going to run away from the truth. Now, see, here's the thing. This is not the first time historically that white people have malfunctioned. And when I say malfunctioning, I mean they're not towing the line of white supremacy racism. Whatever your politics, we can clearly determine just by looking at the videos that the people being targeted by ICE and federal enforcement in Minneapolis are black and brown, right? They're Somalis, right? And now, of course, we understand that we know that there are illegal white people from Canada and Europe in this country who've overstayed their visas and committed crimes. And nevertheless, that's a very small percentage. You can check the stats, okay? But we still don't see that being publicized. I had to search and search and search, and it took me weeks to find some white people being deported. And those folks were Cuban, you see? One from Canada. But there's very few. And that said, these white ICE protesters see what the rest of us see, and that's black and brown illegal immigrants being targeted disproportionately. And the media is playing the footage over and over again. And nevertheless, here's the thing: the removal of black and brown immigrants and the removal of non-white people, right? If you really think about it, you put yourself in the perspective of a white person, okay? That is in the interest and benefit of white people in general, okay? Let me run that back to you again. The removal of black and brown people from the United States, okay, is to the benefit of the proliferation of white people. And I'm gonna say that because having a white ethnic state ensures the genetic survival of white people, okay? And the removal of non-white people means white people can exist as an ethnic group without fear of being outbred, having resources taken away from them, or even being diminished through mating choices. So when I say white people are malfunctioning, it's this: they're protesting ICE as an institution whose enforcement disproportionately affects non-white people and structurally benefits white people demographically, politically, and socially. Now, I am not the first person who came up with that. For years, there was a beautiful, brilliant black woman named Dr. Frances Cress Welsing who spoke about that. And she talked about how, white people are genetically more susceptible to being outbred because or bred out, because when a brown or black person has a child with a white person, that child is not considered white. And so in this regard, it does not benefit white people to have black and brown people in a country with closed borders with them. I mean, it's just common sense. But yet and still, you got these white folks out here protesting. All right. Now, look, man, it's uncomfortable. You guys are like, what in the hell? We thought you were going to sit up here and talk bad about it. It is what it is. Okay. So when we look at this young lady, And let me see if I can pull a picture up her. Her name is Renee Good. She is on the thumbnail tonight. This woman was literally out. Shout out to Patrick Allen. Thank you so much, family. I appreciate you. You're the first one to contribute to the super chat. This is Renee Good. Okay, we'll talk about her a little bit later on. This young white woman was 37 years old, and she was shot and she was unalive by an ICE agent after she, allegedly assaulted him with her vehicle. All right, we've seen the videotape. You can make of it what you will. Okay. I think most people have pretty much passed judgment on that. This is her in her vehicle. This is her last time alive. Let's see if I can pull this up. This is her right here. I'll pull it up. Let me know if you guys can see that. Okay. And again, like I said, I don't need to show the video. I don't want YouTube bearing down on me. But that's her right there. You guys seen the video? Boom, there she is right there. She drove off, and then apparently her wife told her, drive, baby, drive. That's what I heard on the videotape. And she drove, and she got a couple of hot ones in her. But nevertheless, a lot of black people have had a lot to say about this situation. And a lot of white people have had a lot to say about this situation. So we're going to go ahead and look at some of the videos. Now, again, I'm going to say it like this, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it a couple more times. We have to begin to give people grace. And I hope when we finish with this particular broadcast, you all will have a different look, because that's all I try to do. I try to give you the truth. I try to give it to you in a way in which you can understand it. For the most part, let's just go ahead and take a look at some of these videos. Y'all hit the number 1 button. Let me know that you can hear me clearly. We'll check this brother out. Hit the number 1 button.
I'm from the show me state. They showed her and put some holes in her motherfucking face. And now that bitch ain't got shit to say, and her kids are never gonna see their mom again. Why? Because she made a stupid motherfucking move. If it was a nigga, you'd have just said, that's a dumb nigga. He should have complied. Well, that was a dumb white bitch, and she should have fucking complied.
All right. Excuse the language. Now, some of you all may feel that way. I believe that's a bit of a harsh take. Okay. I would never say that about this woman, but let's keep listening to what people have to say.
Y'all knew it was coming. So here it is. I'm going to tell you, fuck your feelings. Facts is facts. At the end of the day, I don't want to hear, oh, she had 3 kids, or she had a 6-year-old. She was a good mother. She wasn't considering any of that when she got her ass behind that wheel and started operating it and drove it at a fucking federal officer.
Facts.
I didn't say facts. So this is pretty much what you all think that young woman was foolish. You think she was misguided. That's pretty much been the consensus that I've heard from a lot of people. And I think by the time we finish, folk might have a different take on it. Let's keep listening.
You woke up, got dressed, brushed your teeth, and said, let me go outside, find some ICE agents, and let me go obstruct some law, and let me go act like I'm fucking Superwoman and could beat up ICE agents. And let me go block the road with my car when I see ICE agents and don't let them out. And then try to run over them when they come at me. And now I'm unalived. When I wake up in the morning, I don't wake up in the morning looking for ICE agents,
You don't.
I really don't.
Now, I will say...
All right, you hear what people are saying. It's very harsh. There's not a lot of understanding for what this woman was doing. Okay. And, I get where you're coming from. I'm just laying the foundation. This is what the people are saying, and we're going to deal with it. Okay. We are going to deal with it. Let's listen to this brother.
Testing the mic. Let's go.
Right, who was in the wrong with that Minnesota lady that lost her life. I'm not finna argue with y'all tonight, but I do know one thing. Y'all don't care about y'all kids enough like I care about mine. I'm not putting my life on the line for no stranger. I got somebody depending on me. My family's depending on me to come home every...
All right, now I'm gonna start. I know you all don't like when I interrupt. I know you all like me to let the people finish talk. You heard what the brother's saying, and I'm not gonna put my life on the line for people that aren't my family. And so here's the thing: there was a lot of people that put themselves on the line for Black people during slavery, particularly those people who were conductors of the Underground Railroad. A lot of those homes that we hid in were owned by white people. And because of the Fugitive Slave Act, which I will talk about later, they had a lot to lose. There have been a lot of white people who've spent a lot of money financing legal, sponsoring litigation that helped us get to the civil rights movement. Thurgood Marshall didn't have any money. He might have been a litigator, but he didn't have money like that. The whole NAACP Legal Defense Fund was sponsored by white people. Okay, so I just want y'all to keep that in mind. And a lot of people had a lot to lose, but okay, I'm just saying. And some of y'all are like, oh well, it was different. I'm gonna hit that too. Look, I'm not here to make you comfortable. I know some of y'all like me. You're gonna unlike me tonight. You're gonna be mad because I'm gonna tell you the truth. And I'm gonna give you the historical context on it, fam. We're gonna have an honest conversation. See, if you're gonna feel the way you feel, you're gonna feel honestly. You're gonna have to work around. It's not gonna be easy to maintain that. I'm not gonna let you be on this page and live in ignorance. Let's keep listening.
Every day. I'm not putting my life on the line for no strangers, yet alone people that's not even from here. Mm-hmm. If somebody told me ICE is coming to my city, which has already happened, I'm staying out the way. What do I look like going in the streets trying to protect people that's not even from here? Or whatever the situation is. They could be from here. I'm still not protecting a stranger in general. I got people depending on me. Don't forget that. So in this situation, they say ICE is coming to your city in Minneapolis to figure out what's going on with the Somali fraud. Thank you. Why in the world would I need to hit the streets and stop that? I don't know. I just know it don't seem like y'all care about y'all kids enough. I don't need my child to be fatherless. And I definitely don't need him to understand that he lost his father because his father was out there defending Somalis.
There's a lot of pissed off people when I say this, and hear me good. There's no way I could ever be an ICE agent because I'm sparing nobody. And I hate to say that because I am not a person that, condones violence. But this is what I'm not gonna do. I would never kiss my husband, kiss my wife, kiss my kids goodbye, go out and, do my job because I'm trying to be a productive member of society. And I'm met with bricks being thrown at me, people spitting on me, people trying to run me over with their car. And when I defend myself, then it's look at the
Somalians protesting, marching, or raising money for her family, or taking care of the funeral expenses, because we know y'all got the money. We know y'all got the money. It ain't a secret no more. So I'm just trying to figure out why y'all didn't take care of that girl and her family, man. Because the only reason why she was out there doing that was protect y'all from ICE.
As a lawyer,
it's 2026. I'm going to voice my opinion. I don't care what nobody feels or what they got to say about what I got to say, because the truth is the truth.
Continue listening.
That girl
brutality. Look at these animals. Ain't no way I'm sparing anybody. Absolutely the hell not. It's mind-boggling that you have people that legit are saying kill ICE agents, dox ICE agents, and they're not supposed to do anything back. That's why I'm not in law enforcement, because I promise you I would spare nobody. Absolutely the hell not. No, absolutely not.
Funny how silence works. Not one Democrat flooded the streets when Laken Riley was beaten, raped, tortured, strangled, and had her skull smashed with a rock by an illegal alien. There were no marches, there were no hashtags, no candlelight vigils, no virtue. Not one Democrat demanded deportations when 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungare was raped and then had her throat slit by two illegals. Not a word about borders, not a whisper about accountability, not a single protest demanding justice for a small American child. Not one Democrat staged outrage for Rachel Morin, a mother of five young babies, strangled, sexually assaulted, beaten to death with a rock. Apparently, motherhood only matters when it's politically convenient. I said beaten to death with a rock. Not a gun, not a knife, not forks, but a rock, whatever was readily available to murder an American. Not one Democrat tweeted a single syllable about Dakara Thompson after an illegal sexually assaulted her and then chucked her off the bridge like she was just trash.
All right, so you see there's not a lot of sympathy out there for Renee Good. Y'all see that, right? And in fact, it's not just white people, not just black people that feel this way. There's also white people. I want you to let me see if I can pull this video up so you guys can check this out. Hit the number 1 button. Let me know if you can hear it.
And that is, are you guys fine? Are you good? Because from all the videos that I've been watching online lately on TikTok and on Twitter, or on X now, I guess, it seems like they've put something in your water that has effectively.
Now, again, this is a white woman talking bad about white people who are protesting what they perceive as injustice against black and brown people in Minnesota, okay, being targeted by ICE. Look, however you feel, most foundational black Americans will agree the removal of immigrants is beneficial to black people in this country. I would tend to agree with you on that. I think most white people would feel the same way. Okay. But what you know, let's just absorb this, because I bring you on in and then I tighten that noose around.
Turn a large majority of the population mentally ill. I'm not even kidding. There are no other words for what the fuck is transpiring over there right now.
There's no other words for these violent protests that white folk are out here protesting for black and brown people being targeted by federal agents. It's ludicrous, according to this white woman. Keep going. White, in other words, she's saying you white people are malfunctioning. Y'all are defending criminals. These people have broken the law. Let's keep listening.
Never in my life would I ever think I'm going to make a change today. I'm going to just load up all my kids, not in car seats, in my car. I'm going to go up to federal agents who are all bearing arms and just start yelling, "Fuck you! It's ICE!" Bring my little fucking sport whistle alongside me. What are you doing? What are you doing? At what point did that become an acceptable way to make change in your country? Seriously. That's fucking outstanding, especially from the outside looking in.
Go ahead, man. Keep talking.
They're bringing musical instruments and loudspeakers so that they can sing outside the hotels where the ICE agents are sleeping at night. They did that. They're doing that. They actively have been doing that. I just have one question, one basic question. Do you guys understand what sleep deprivation does to people? It makes them act in really fucked up ways. You are stressing them out as they're doing their job to pay taxes to the same people they're fucking deporting for fraud right now. Supporting their families, supporting their communities. They are serving their country actively right now. And you're going outside and you are screaming.
In other words, these are white men protecting the white America, and you all are messing with that. You all are malfunctioning. That's what she's saying. Okay, I'm just pointing that out. That was the point that I brought up earlier. Okay, let's keep listening.
All night long. They have no sleep, but they have guns, right? So if what transpired the other day, everyone's like, "Oh, it shouldn't have happened." Okay, I agree. No lives should have been lost. That, whatever. I did see the vehicle, the footage of the vehicle strike the man. So none of that should have happened. None of it. Not a single.
Now, before we get going, good. You guys hear what she's saying? I want y'all to make sure you subscribe to the channel if you hadn't already. Let's go ahead and do that now. make sure you subscribe to the channel. And of course, make sure you hit the like button. Let's get those likes up. Let's not do Uncle D dirty. Y'all get those likes up and hit the subscribe button. All right, let's go.
Anything that happened before that and then everything that's now happened after that. The whole entire situation is a fucking disaster, to be fair. It's a nightmare. That's so unfortunate. I'm so sorry that anybody was in that position. However, if you continue to deprive the sleep of federal agents who are now on the defense, kind of scared of you guys because you've been acting wildly unhinged.
Oh.
What do you think happened next? Even if there's another incident,
she's not talking to black people. She's
until
talking
their job
to white
is done.
people.
That's how this works, right?
Okay.
They have a job to do. Let them do it. They have been followed around by upwards of 150 fucking reporter cameras. People, why would you show up and follow these people while they're actively arresting people? You have no idea the mental health status of the people they're arresting. Granted, I'm sure the people in the crowd are far worse off. That's just out of my own observation, so perhaps I saw it wrong. But people are bringing their kids to these things. Oh, active arrests of dangerous people. Some of them are, some of them are not.
Criminals. She's saying criminals. They're trying to arrest criminals. You're endangering your children by bringing them around these criminals being investigated. Keep listening.
It would be a really great day for you if you attend the one that where, they're not. But what happens when they don't want to go back? They don't have any fucks to give and they open fire on everyone and your kids are there. So either they're going to watch their parent get injured, they're going to see a massacre, or they're also going to get injured. Why would you bring your kids there? Like, there has to be something in the water, right? Can that be the general consensus? Because I have never in my life seen anything like that, and I won't even begin to try to understand it. But
do you all appreciate the fact that I'm not interrupting her? I want y'all, because you all have told me don't interrupt when people are talking. So I just hope you all know I listen. Uncle D listens. Okay, I'm listening to you. I'm not interrupting, right? Now, I know you all want to say something, but I'm not interrupting. Some of you all are calling her name. Some of you all support what she said, but I'm being quiet because this is what you all told me to do. But we'll let her continue.
Thoughts and prayers, all the shit, all the vibes, all the whatever. Something is really fucking, obviously something's really wrong there, but those people.
In other words, she said, those people, those white people, something's wrong. They're malfunctioning. That's what she's saying. And look, however you feel about the immigration process, however you feel about it, I just want you to understand that a woman is dead. A woman has been shot by law enforcement. Okay. And we all saw it. And I would just hope that we would begin to see it in our hearts to give this person grace. Okay. Somebody type grace in the chat room. Okay. Let's just tone it down a little bit. I know everybody's in their corner. All right. But let's think about that for a minute. Let's not be the hairless. Let's not act like our ancestors, the hairless monkeys that we are. Whether you're a black hairless monkey, a white hairless monkey, an Asian hairless monkey, a Latino or Hispanic hairless monkey, or Arab hair. Let's not be savages. Okay, let's not show our true colors. Let's try to be gracious. There's a person who has been killed, whose children are going to grow up without their mother. I'm just saying, family, I take life seriously and I take death seriously, but we're going to continue listening.
Who are doing their job there, they don't deserve that at all. And for anyone to say, well, the illegals, they're the ones.
Because of what I'm saying is this young woman here is showing very little compassion for this woman who's passed away. Y'all basically saying she's stupid for being out there. She's stupid for protesting. This white woman is stupid for protesting the racial targeting of these black and brown people. I'm just saying, okay, I know it's more to it, it's context. I get what you're saying, but that's what this white woman is saying. And I'm sure we go back to the 1950s and we go back to the 1840s and 30s. There were probably other white people saying, you stupid for helping those black people. I'm just saying, family. I'm saying. I'm just gonna put it out there. You know, everybody else wants to ride the bandwagon. Okay, everybody else wants to say, yeah, she's stupid. I'm not gonna do that because my moral compass points towards the Most High. But we'll continue listening.
That don't deserve this. They deserve a due process.
Illegals.
They are referred to as illegals.
Yeah.
Because their existence within that country is not legal. Let the law enforcement enforce the law. Like, why the fuck does that need to be said? I
want you all to keep in mind, this is the same white woman who probably would get on the internet and say all they had to do was comply. Okay? I'm talking specifically to my foundational black and brothers and sisters. The same type of person to get on there and say, well, they should have stopped resisting. All right, so let's just be mindful. I need y'all to come down off that ledge.
have one more grievance. I'm extremely upset that this has effectively canceled all sale of the Wagoneer in Minnesota.
She's upset that she can't get a Wagoneer. Not that a woman is dead, but that a Wagoneer. Because the cops are using the Wagoneer, so they can't get Wagoneers, otherwise these pesky protesters will follow. I just want you to understand. I mean, let's just look at it for what it is. You don't have to like what I'm saying, but these are the facts, right?
So if anybody in Minnesota right now would like to sell me their Wagoneer, I'll take it, but at a very discounted rate because...
That's her primary concern. She can't get a Wagoneer, okay?
Makes sense.
All right, everybody's entitled to their point of view. Let's move on to the next, let's see what else other people have to say. All right, y'all hit the number 1 button if you can hear me clearly.
Shot in the face by the ICE agent? Well, let me show you who her and the liberals were protecting the day that the ICE agents were just trying to do their job. This guy's name is Muhammad Abul Qadir Yusuf, and he's a Somalian illegal alien sex offender that lived in Minneapolis. He was previously convicted of first-degree criminal sexual assault for forcing his victim to give him oral sex multiple times back in 2016. He's also been arrested for first-degree assault, and he has an active warrant for obstructing justice in 2024. ICE says that they previously tried to arrest him, but the landlord of the building blocked him from getting to this sex offender. So they had to launch a targeted investigation to arrest this guy, and it costed the taxpayers more money. And this is who leftists are putting their lives on the line to protect. So next time you feel like taking your car and blocking off a street, make sure you're not blocking the arrest of a sex offender.
Fair use. Now, again, he's basically saying these are criminals. Why is this misguided, well-meaning white woman protecting criminals? Somebody type well-meaning white people in the chat room. Somebody type well-meaning white people in the chat room. Why is this white woman protecting some black criminal? Putting her life on the line for some black criminal. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
And maybe next time you will go home alive. Fuck out of here.
So it's her fault, right? I'm just saying. This is because see, you can keep listening and listening and listening. At some point, you're gonna start saying, "Hold on a minute, this may be a little bit too far here." That's kind of, you all don't have to like what I'm saying. Okay, you don't have to like what I'm saying, but I'm saying what I'm saying. Let's see if we can get there's this other black people who have a lot to say. Let's see what this fella has to say. Hit the number 1 button if you can hear me clearly.
ICE agent that maniac wench tried to run over suffered internal bleeding because she hit him with her SUV. The reason that Renee Good is on a t-shirt is because of Renee Good and the left for encouraging her actions. Had she murdered the ICE agent, the same leftists that are demanding justice for Renee would have been cheering for his assassination. This is why we need to support the federal agents that are actually doing an incredible job, as well as the corporations that stand behind them like America First Healthcare, the only healthcare company that is taking the liberty of exposing corruption throughout our country.
Okay, he's doing a commercial, but you heard what he had to say, right? I hear very little compassion. I'm just saying, I don't hear giving anyone
Very
any grace.
interesting about the body cam release. Very interesting. And it tells you everything you want to know. All the footage has been released except for the camera of the wife. Her camera, watch the body cam video. Her camera was on the officer the entire incident. But Democrats won't release her footage. I know why. Her footage disputes every lie the Democrats have told about this incident. Every lie.
And I notice people have made this very
Democrats need to subpoena her
political,
footage.
you know.
Game over.
And you know, again, family, I'm a compassionate person. You know, I see things for what I see. A woman who's died. I see a woman who died for what she believed in. Okay.
That was Screaming Drive Baby Drive is Renee Good's wife. I just thought it was somebody that was on the scene, eyewitness or bystander. In the video, she is seen completely freaked out and she's completely blaming herself. Good's wife could be heard saying, "What did I do? What did I do?" Her wife was going through it. Let me play the video.
You know how black people is, phone up, she thick as hell. What you talking about? It's cold in a motherfucker. I'm shaking and shit for it. So you don't got none of her family members or anybody number?
See, the reason the wife is probably screaming like that was because if you listen to the original video, you can hear her in the background saying, "Go, baby, go," you know, or "Drive, baby, drive," something like that. Thank you all. She said, "Drive, baby, drive." And now her saying that, you know, has a lot to do with maybe inspiring her wife to drive. And keep in mind, these ladies were in a lesbian relationship, so that's why I'm referring to the wife as a wife. That was her wife. Okay, let's keep listening.
Do you know anybody on her Facebook? Alright, damn. Oh my gosh, this is horrible, y'all.
I'm not pointing fingers, but when you telling your wife, "Drive, baby, drive," that was her first mistake. She should have told her, "Babe, get out the car." From the moment ICE agents pulled up, you can see her agitating, egging them on.
It's okay, we don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former.
Now, I will say this, you see white women basically exercising their white privilege. They can get away with a whole lot, you know, running up and this is why black people are arrested, because we know we are absolutely certain that we will not be able to get away with some of these things that these white women are getting away with, okay? And black women know also we are not going to be able to get up in these federal law enforcement's faces and say some of the things and do some of the things that some of these white women. So I mean, kudos to white folks for using their privilege in the right way. Okay. Again, let's keep listening, but you know, nobody seems to be very empathetic to this woman. Okay. Nobody seems to be very empathetic, largely because number one, you all of the opinion she was defending criminals, the deportation of criminals. Somebody type black criminals in the chat room. Somebody type brown criminals. This white woman is out here. How dare she be out here defending these black and brown criminals, using her white privilege to stop these black and brown criminals from being targeted? How dare she do that? Let's keep going.
I said go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
In this video, people like just greasing Renee Good, like disrespecting her, calling her all types of names. I'm not gonna go there. At the end of the day, she lost her life. We don't have to agree with the choice she made. And no, I don't think that she deserved to lose her life. But did she put herself in that situation for that to happen? Yeah, she did. And according to reports, Tim Walz has the National Guard on standby. The Guard's role, as prescribed by the governor's office, is to help protect the public safety and infrastructure and support peaceful demonstration, not to interfere with or block federal law enforcement operation. I'm so curious to see how this goes.
Okay, so what you see happening is, like I said, it's a big deal. You got this white woman who was unalived, and some of you all basically think she's an idiot. And again, I don't I don't do that. I don't just jump on the algorithm and just start saying things without having something, a perspective that
Renee's her former father-in-law get on the fucking news and go and say he don't blame nobody. He don't blame Renee. He don't blame the cop that shot her at point blank. He don't blame nobody. He just felt like if she would have been following the word of God, that none of that would have happened.
So basically what you're saying, she wasn't doing what God wanted her to do, and that's why she died. That's what the father is saying. So we're looking into this woman's background. We're looking into this person who was shot by the police. I mean, we're looking into her background, and we're making determinations about why she deserved to get what she got. I'm just saying, fam, it kind of sounds familiar. I mean, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, I don't know. You know what I mean? Why do we say? I mean, I'm just saying, brothers and sisters, I want you to listen to me. I mean, I'm gonna talk to you. I'm not gonna hold back. I'm just gonna, it seemed I've seen people looking into this woman's past, this white woman who is exercising her white privilege to stop ICE from targeting black and brown people. Because again, I pointed out that there are white immigrants who are here illegally, but I don't ever see them on TV. But I do see, and again, I'm pro send them home. I'm pro sending them home. Okay. I believe in sending people home who are here illegally. But that still does not mean I can't call out racism when I see it, right? Can we be honest with each other? See, I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to play this game with you. I'm going to tell you I'm not going to try to make you feel good about your decisions. If you want to see them go home, fine. I want to see them go home too. I want to see all the illegal immigrants sent back to where they came from. They don't really like us anyway, okay? Nevertheless, this is a white woman who is exercising her white privilege to interfere with federal law enforcement who seems to be targeting black and brown people to send them home. Yeah, and they are criminals. We agree with that, right? We agree that these black and criminals, they're breaking the law, right? And so now you have this young sister here who's looking into this woman's background or basing her assessment on what the father-in-law had to say about father-in-law, meaning the other her lesbian. I don't know how this is working out because the woman has 3 kids, but whatever. Maybe she's just a recent convert to lesbianism. I don't know how lesbianism works, but I'm assuming she got 3 children. You might be a recent convert. Okay. I'm sure there's some people in the rainbow community that could thoroughly educate me on how that works, but she has 3 children. So this is something she decided to do later on in life. But bottom line is she was, now you're saying she wasn't Jesus enough. She didn't have her Jesus in properly. Okay. But let's keep listening.
Everything happens for a reason. If you really believe in God, everything happens for a reason. Everything. There was no way to prevent that. Honestly, like if we really talking about God, we could really talk about it. But for you,
God is God's fault, y'all. I'm just saying. Because to me it seemed like a lot of people jumping through a lot of hoops to blame this woman who was exercising her white privilege in an attempt to protect black and brown criminals from being targeted by federal law enforcement And now you have black people on the internet saying it was God. She was a lesbian, and therefore God punished. That's what it sounded like. Because I remember back in 2005 when I lost all my shit in Hurricane Katrina, and there were people who were saying, well, you lived in New Orleans at the time, and New Orleans is Sin City, and that's the Lord sent Hurricane Katrina to wipe you motherfuckers out. I remember that on the internet. Praise God. Excuse my language, but that's what I remember. It was the Lord's fault. You know what I'm saying? We were being punished because, New Orleans had Mardi Gras and all that. I'm just saying. Let's keep listening.
You just sit there and not take accountability for what happened. It's just like, it's disrespectful for one. Two, if you're the former father-in-law, why are you even speaking on it anyway? Like, it's not your place.
You're right. It's not your place. I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But nobody really can't quite get a fix on this, man. Let's keep listening.
Good right before the incident happened.
Cutting up. Look at her out there cutting up. There she go, harassing the police, using her white privilege to harass the police.
If you're wondering where she is, just wait for it. She's the one honking the horn. And she is absolutely in the middle of the road while honking her horn. Assuming she's honking her horn to warn everybody that ICE agents are indeed outside, checking cars, going to houses. We've all seen the footage of the car actually hitting the police officer.
Oh, Renee is warning the people, slave catchers. The ICE agents are coming. That's what she's doing. Okay, she's warning the brown and black people that the ICE agents are coming to get you. All right, that's what she's doing. Let's keep listening.
Officer, him shooting twice, him saying a bad word or two. We also saw footage from a camera far away that showed the car, in fact, contacting the ICE agent. And now I just saw a video, which I took a clip of this lady's video. Thank you so very much, honey. The reaction of her wife after all of this is done.
Hey, was you riding with her?
Yeah.
Didn't say what the fuck did they do. She didn't say, oh my gosh, ICE did this and this. None of these were her first reaction. Her first statement from oh my gosh, was what the fuck did I do? Which I would think is all the evidence the FBI would need when doing an investigation, which is your admittance to your involvement in the outcome of this situation. And the main reason why I keep coming back to these videos and things is because the Democrats be lying. They just be lying.
Yeah. So we got a lot of black people saying something now. There's a couple more videos I'm gonna get in. I think this is one. Let me make sure I got the right video here. Let me see here. Y'all hit the #1 button if you can hear me clearly. And make sure if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you subscribe now, family. We are going to go on an intriguing, thought-provoking journey here today. And I'm going to force you to have to reconcile with what may be your hypocrisy. But let's keep listening. Hit the #1. Shout out to Alabama.
And his whole platform was speaking hate about.
Oh, hear what she got to say. Lord Jesus. Let's listen to some law enforcement officers. Now, I want you all to hear what this lady has to say.
Philadelphia said that ICE is a made-up agency. It's made-up police officers, not real, is what she was saying, basically. And her little punk ass.
This is the police chief of Philadelphia, and she's a cop. She is the police chief of a major American city, and she is telling let's let him say what she said.
Who do y'all think she was directing that information to? They think black people dumb. They want black people to get involved and get upset about this ICE shit. So let me educate y'all something.
And we are still resting. Okay, we are resting. All the black people I know the white folks in the front of the room, but dear black people, all the foundational black people type, we are resting in the chat room. Okay. No, matter of fact, say feet up. We have our feet up. And if you are, ebonically inclined, you can say feet. We have our feet up. Feet. You all can figure out how to spell that. We have our feet up. We are resting. Let me know. Okay, let's hit the number 1 button.
Right? ICE is under the Homeland Department. ICE has been around since 9/11. Mm-hmm. After 9/11, they made ICE. ICE is not fake. Fuck with that man.
So let me get this straight, brother. You are telling us, let me listen. The brother is telling us that the police chief who told us, who is saying resist the federal government, and you against that. I'm sure. I'm just saying, brother. I'm just saying the police chief feels as though the federal government is acting inappropriately, and you are saying and targeting people, black and brown people, and you are saying no, they need to target them black and brown people. Okay, cool. That's your opinion. That's your opinion.
You're really talking about ICE is not fake. ICE is real federal agents.
My man is supporting the police. He is supporting the feds. Somebody type support the feds in the chat room. He is supporting the feds. He said he's the real cops out here, man, and they doing a good job. I support the blue. Somebody type back the blue in the chat room. Somebody type back the blue in the chat room. That's what he's saying, right? Back the blue, right? Somebody type back the blue in the chat room. That's what he's saying, right? We back the blue now, right? We back in the blue, right? The Philly cops, we back in the blue. Say that. Put it in the chat room. Back the blue. That's what the brother is saying. We support the feds. Only black people only. We support the feds. We back the blue. That's what we saying, right? Let's keep it pushing.
Black people, do not attempt to do what that white bitch did, because you'd have been got shot.
Now, again, excuse his language, and the white bitch he's referring to was exercising her white privilege to protect black and brown illegal immigrants who are criminals from being targeted by federal law enforcement, by obstructing the federal law enforcement. So this is the white bitch that he's talking about. The white bitch who was trying to stop the cops from targeting, federal cops from targeting black and brown people who she felt were being targeted unjustly because of the unfair law. These criminals, these black criminals, these brown criminals. Well, actually, that's Minnesota, so she talked about these Somalians. So this brother right here is saying that white bitch she should have never been trying to stop the cops from supporting, from targeting these black men and women. Isn't that what he said? Isn't that what he's saying? Back to blue? Isn't that what y'all saying out in the chat room? Huh? That's what y'all are saying. Yeah, keep going. Let's go, brother.
Like I know, when the police tell you to get the fuck out the car, you get the fuck out the car.
Yeah, do you comply? You hear what he's saying? What he's saying is you should have complied. Stop resisting. Y'all type stop resisting in the chat room. Stop resisting in the chat room. All you had to do was comply. That's what he's saying, right? Is that what they said to Timir Rice, little 12-year-old boy? Huh? I'm just saying. Isn't that what they tell? I'm just saying, family. I've heard this rhetoric before, and I'm just, it's interesting. Yeah,
you
buddy.
Some uppity black person, and you some white liberal, I guess, I don't know. But when you black, and you from the hood, and the police get surround your car, and they tell you to get the fuck out, what do you normally do?
Run. you run, nigga. You know you're supposed to run. I'm scarring my language. Excuse me. Y'all just comply all the time. You saying you comply? Come on, brother. You ain't never ran from the police? I done ran from the police. Okay? So you saying you never run? I ain't running nowhere now. I'm talking. So you saying, brother, you saying that all she had to do was comply. That's what you say. All this white woman had to do was comply. She wouldn't have got shot. Is that what you saying, bro? Is that what you're saying? I mean, because what about the other brothers that be getting shot? Because sometimes we say, well, they're not complying because they're afraid for their lives. Isn't that what we say? And so you said all she had to do was comply. I mean, golly, this Woo-wee. Are we, where are we? where are we? Huh? Where are we, brother? All she had to do was comply with the ICE agents. Is that what you said? Y'all type just comply in the chat room.
You get the fuck out. Because if you don't, what happens? They take you up out that car and they whoop your ass. And if they can't take you out the car because you put your fucking foot on the gas, they gonna shoot that motherfucker. And y'all know that. So stop playing games. What happened?
Stop playing games. He know what's going. He's speaking from personal experience. His brother know what's happening. Come on,
white lady.
Somebody said Uno reverse, bro. Hey man, that's the comment of the year. Uno reverse, right? I never heard black people talk like this. I never knew this many black people supported the police. You got a white woman out here trying to protect black bodies, and you N-words are telling her now she should have complied. That's why she got shot. That's the same stuff they tell us. Y'all some hypocrites out in this piece, man. But anyway, I digress. Let's continue with the broadcast.
That's a common thing.
It's a common
That's common
thing
to me.
Yeah,
and my reality as a black man in America, that shit is common.
And yet you have no compassion for this white woman. You have no compassion. I'm just saying. Somebody type Uno reverse in the chat room. Somebody type Uno reverse. Go ahead.
If the police say get the fuck out the car, you get the fuck out the car, or you get problems.
You know you ain't getting the fuck. Why y'all pulling me over for? Why you pulling me over? You know you ain't getting. Come on, stop it, brother. Stop it.
And if you push the gas and another officer gets hit, that becomes attempt murder. You cannot use that. Now they're saying you use the vehicle as a weapon, and they are going to open fire.
My brother need to be a lawyer because he know all the laws, bro. You know all the laws. Keep hitting the bird.
Fuck is y'all talking about? So that police and chief bitch is trying to get black people excited. Don't get gassed up, nigga, because you will get shot, you will get locked up, and they will have no sympathy for you. There will be no marches for you, nigga.
Damn. He being honest, right? Don't let that he talk about the police chief of Philly. Let's listen to another police chief, and then we're gonna carry on with our broadcast and get down to the nitty-gritty. Listen to what this brother got to say. Y'all hit the number one button, Mike.
Thank you. That's just common sense.
Let me make this clear. Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers.
Yes, they are.
They are agents of law enforcement.
Shout out to Jay Harden.
If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger. Following law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing? It's also reasonable for them to believe that you're eventually going to do harm to them. If you ram any vehicle, especially that one that contains law enforcement agents, and that's any law enforcement, local, state, federal, county, and you do this intentionally, this is considered deadly force. Deadly force is anything that can cause great bodily harm or death. When you plow into a vehicle that contains law enforcement agents, you're using deadly force. And they can use deadly force in response to stop you. We need to be clear about these laws. We cannot become a society where we just decide to take everything in our own hands and start to commit crimes against law enforcement. It is a crime. You may not like what they're doing.
It's a crime.
I can understand that there's a lot of emotions out there, but that does not mean that you get to commit a crime, especially one that could lead to deadly force. We do not interfere with the duties and responsibilities of federal agents. We need to keep everyone safe.
Okay. All right. Now, before we go any further, okay, I want you all to talk. Everybody in the just y'all back the blue, right? Right. We all back the blue up in here, right? We back the blue, right? Okay. All my black people, where my black people at? All my brothers and sisters, I want you to come to the front of the room. All they had to do was comply, right? That's what you're saying? All they had to do was comply. That's all they had to do, right? Was just comply. All that white woman had to do was comply. There's another woman I want to remind you of. Maybe, do you all feel the same way about this woman? Are you saying all she had to was comply? Y'all know who that is? That's beautiful sister Sandra Bland. Y'all still feel the same way about her? She was just driving down the street. She got pulled over. All she had, is that what you all are saying? All she had to do was, y'all back to blue, right? Y'all still back to blue? What about her? You back to blue on her? Do you? Do you still back to blue? I'm just asking questions. You know, Uncle D love you. I just have questions. That's all I do is ask questions. I'm just here to ask questions. I just want you to tell me. I need you to tell me. You know, Uncle D don't ride the algorithm. Uncle D got his own money. If you like what I have to say, you learn something, cool. I don't care, but I'm just saying. So what about this lady here? Did she all she had to do was comply to? Maybe y'all feel the same way? Somebody type Uno reverse in the chat room. Oh, that's Breonna Taylor. Somebody type Breonna Taylor in the chat room. Do you feel the same way? The police came and her out, shot her up. All she had to do was comply too, right? All she had to do was comply, right? Right? That's how y'all feel, right? Because I mean, I've heard they said the same. The white people were saying the same thing about Breonna Taylor that you all are saying about Renee Good, and it's not just you all. I'm just saying. But you know, this is a broadcast. It's typically geared to black people. Okay. What about this lady right here? I want you to, this beautiful sister. She was just had called the house. She called a police officer because she some disturbance outside her house. You understand what I'm saying? It was a disturbance. This beautiful sister right here was just in her kitchen. Sister was in her kitchen, and the cops just shot her down in her kitchen. He said he felt she was putting some water in he told her to take the water off the stove, and she started moving the water from the stove to the sink, and he said his life was threatened, and he shot her. So all she had to do was comply to. I'm just saying, family. I'm just asking questions. I just have questions. Because, you know, we ain't really got started yet. I mean, I'm just asking my black brothers and sisters questions. I just have questions. And again, I'm all for sending them home. You all know I'm a staunch supporter of sending them home, but I'm not a staunch supporter of hypocrisy. And if I'm gonna call y'all on your hypocrisy. This sister right here is from my hometown. Okay. You know, she called 911 because there was some domestic violence going on, and she ended up getting shot by the police. Should she have just not called the police? What do we do? Somebody keeps saying, oh, well, this is different. How so? How so? How so? How so? I don't understand. I don't understand. Maybe y'all can help me understand as we proceed through this broadcast. Maybe that's it. Because, you know, I'm just saying, I just have questions. I'm here to answer. You know, I'm here for questions to be answered. But nevertheless, white people are malfunctioning. Okay. And this is not, and you know, like the young lady that I put up earlier, Miss Renee Good, this white woman, she clearly malfunctioned, right? We can all agree with that. She's malfunctioning. And it's not the first time white people have done something like this, okay? And so, you know, before we pretend that Minneapolis is unprecedented or that this behavior is somehow new, we have to go into the history. Whose history? Our history. I'm talking about foundational Black American descendants of slaves, because white people have malfunctioned before, and when they did, other white people tried to kill them for it. Prime example. Do you know who Cassius Clay is? Somebody type Cassius Clay in the chat room. All my educated Black people that got your degrees in Black history sciences, type Cassius Clay in the chat room. Who knows who Cassius Clay is? I'm going to give you the whole name. Maybe this is a hint. Cassius Marcellus Clay. Who is that? Huh? Who is Cassius Marquez? This is the look. Who is Cassius Marcellus Clay? Huh? Who is Cassius Marcellus Clay? Y'all know who that is? Huh? Y'all know? No, you don't. Stop lying. This is Cassius Marcellus Clay right here. See this very white man right here? That's Cassius Marcellus Clay. Okay, now before anybody get confused, I'm not talking about the boxer. I'm talking about a man. I'm talking about the man the boxer was named after. Cassius Marcellus Clay was born in 1810 in Kentucky, in deep slave country, and he was in one of the wealthiest slave-owning families in the state. His father owned slaves. His family was politically connected. He had to hook up. This man had every incentives to stay quiet and stay rich and stay on code with the white supremacy that was popping off and making him rich. And he did not. Cassius Marcellus Clay went to Yale. And while he was there, he heard somebody named William Lloyd Garrison speak against slavery. And at that moment, it changed his life. He didn't just disagree with slavery. He privately, and he became open. He an open militant abolitionist in the South. White man malfunction, rich white man malfunctioning. And let me be clear about what that meant. This meant a white man in racist Kentucky publicly opposing slavery in the early 18th century, not for profit, not for politics, but because he believed it was wrong. And the response from other white people was what? They got violent with him. Somebody hit the number 1 button. I don't know if y'all still, did I leave? Did y'all leave? Don't run from this. Huh? So in response, other white people got violent. They tried to kill him. And I know this is going to get demonetized. So if you all don't want to contribute to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal, that's fine. We ain't going to make no money on this. But the bottom line is other white folks said, you are malfunctioning and we're going to get you up out of here. They tried to kill him. In 1843, they hired a gunman, okay, shot him in the chest, point blank range. And the only reason Mr. Cassius Marcellus Clay lived is because the bullet struck the silver tip scabbard over his heart, little something he had over his heart. And after being shot, he rushed the attack. He didn't fall down. He rushed the attacker. It's a bad white man right here. This is a bad white man right here. Okay? He stabbed him up with a bowie knife, split the man's face open, nearly killed him himself, and had to be physically restrained from finishing the job. That was assassination attempt number 1. He kept going. In 1845, mind you, slavery didn't end in 1865. 1845, Clay started an anti-slavery newspaper in racist-ass Lexington, Kentucky. Excuse my language. Excuse my language. Guess what he called it? Guess what he called it? The True American. And within a month, white mob said, you know what? You're malfunctioning. And they threatened his life. It didn't matter how rich he was. It didn't matter what school he went to, Yale. Didn't matter who his family was. The man had to barricade himself in his office. He armed himself because he kept that thing with him. He kept that tool with him. And he literally installed cannons inside the building to defend himself. He had a corridor, okay? You had to come down that corridor, and as soon as you open that door, boom, cannon got you. Talk about 2A. Somebody talk about 2A. You know Uncle D support the Second Amendment. I support the Second Amendment, family. Okay, I'm 100% one. Yes. And the Second Amendment did not just limit to pistols and rifles. Okay, cannon. Nevertheless, a mob of 60 white men who thought that Cassius Clay had malfunctioned, they thought it was a good idea to storm the place. Okay? They thought it was, and seize his printing presses. And that's what white people do to white people who malfunction. And he survived another assassination attempt in 1849 where he stabbed a political opponent during a violent confrontation because the man later died from the wound. You see, but still Cassius Clay didn't stop. This is what this man did. He killed and was almost killed because he believed that these black people who were legally bound to slavery, it was the law, and hell, it was at that time, it was illegal for you to run off as a slave. This man was breaking the law. This man was supporting black folk breaking the law. He was supporting black criminals. Somebody type black criminals in the chat room. That's what we're talking about tonight. White people supporting black criminals, aren't we? Come on now. The man, and let me tell you how real he was. He freed his own slaves. Didn't I tell you earlier his daddy was one of the richest slave owners in Kentucky? He went to Yale. He was so real about his. He wasn't about just talking the talk. He walked the walk. He freed his own slaves. He funded and founded a college, Berea College, one of the first interracial colleges in the South. This is a bad MFer. It's 1849 and you got an interracial college in the South? Woo! And here's the other thing you got to understand. He was a founding member of the Republican Party in Kentucky. If you all don't recall, the Republican Party was pro or anti-slavery at the time. He became very close friends with Abraham Lincoln. You can't tell me he wasn't talking to him. Everybody always say, Abe hated N-words. Abe was, this man had all these people in his ear. He had to tell these folks. Of course, he had to lie and say, yeah, I don't support these N-words being free, but he still freed you. That's why you judge a man by his actions, not by his word. Nevertheless, when the Civil War broke out and Washington, D.C. had no federal troops to defend it, this man, this same white man, Cassius Marcellus Clay, personally organized 300 armed men to protect the White House from Confederate attack. He said, look, man, I got them things. This man used his own money and went out and armed 300 men to protect the White House. He spent his money. He freed his slaves. He was malfunctioning. Somebody type white man malfunctioning in the chat room. Cassius Marcellus Clay. That's who we talking about. Cassius Marcellus Clay. And I'm not talking about the boxer. I'm talking about the first and original Cassius Marcellus Clay. He wins the bad white boy, the badass white man award of all time. You understand me? Cassius Marcellus Clay. I'm gonna put his picture back up. Y'all need to see him. This is a white man malfunctioning, just like Renee Good. Y'all think she crazy? I'm sure it was black people that thought this dude was crazy. Why would you do that? You see? Because remember, slavery was a thing back then. That's what they did. Let me put his picture up. Put it back up for you. Y'all still with me? I hope. Are you with me? Are you learning something? I know you are. Cassius Marcellus Clay. President Lincoln trusted him so much, he appointed him to be the U.S. ambassador of Russia. And while he was there, Cassius Marcellus Clay played a critical role in securing Russian naval support for the Union Army. Did y'all know that? Did you know Russia supported the Union, the North? And it was because this man went over there and negotiated that. You understand? And what that also did is it discouraged Britain and France from recognizing the Confederacy. Because remember, The Confederates like, we are our own country. And the minute other countries start recognizing them, it gives them credit. And see, that matters because had Britain or France entered into the war, the Union, we wouldn't have survived. So it was because of this man, we got naval support from the Russians and the dissuaded Great Britain and France. They were powerful countries back then. Did you know that? Y'all didn't learn that y'all didn't learn that in your history class? They didn't teach you that? That's because most of us don't know anything about American history. We just make assumptions. Okay? But I want to say that again. This white man named Cassius Marcellus Clay, this white, rich Yale graduate from a slave owner who sold his slave, helped save the Union. And let me tell you how cold this cat was, man. Lincoln tried to promote him to be a major general in the military. You understand? And he refused. You see what I'm saying? He refused until Lincoln agreed to emancipate the slaves, people in the Confederate States. Did y'all know that? So he basically blackmailed the president, say, look, I'm not taking a promotion in the military as major general unless you agree to free, unless you sign this Emancipation Proclamation. Did you all know that? Y'all didn't know that? Nobody told you that? Huh? Oh, you just thought Cassius Marcellus Clay was Muhammad Ali's old name, right? Right? The man constantly lived under threat. He had to stay with that thing. He had to keep that iron with him. He had to keep he kept that pistol with him. He kept that blade with him. The man had cannons at his house. Okay? He was hunted by other white people for decades. And here's how revered he was. In 1912, a black family, who you all may be familiar with, the Clay family, named their son Cassius Marcellus Clay in his honor. And that child grew up, and the world came to know him as Muhammad Ali. You understand that? And that's how serious Cassius Clay was. A black family chose to name their child after a white man because that white man was willing to risk his life, his fortune, his reputation, fighting for your black ass rights, fighting for you. Now, of course, we know that Ali rejected the name because he said it was a slave name, and that's a whole separate conversation. But the fact remains, the man's legacy was so powerful that it crossed racial lines in a major way. And so when I say white people are malfunctioning today, what you're seeing in Minneapolis, understand this: white people have always had members who break formation. And the white supremacy has always tried to kill them for it. And blame them for their own death. And so what's going on in Minneapolis is not new, it's just a modern version. And that lesson, it's a lesson for all my foundational black Americans. You need to understand. You need to watch and learn, and you need to stay out of it, like I've been telling you. Now, let's move forward. Are y'all still with me? Hit the number 1 button. I know your ears are smoking. There are white people, and check this out. There's white people who oppose slavery, not just because it was inefficient, not because it distorted their wages, and not because it interfered with the free market. All right, we need to have an honest argument, family. From a purely financial standpoint, slavery made perfect sense for the slave owner. Why? Why would a landowner pay a white man wages to do work when he could force a black man to do the same work for free for his whole life? So no, slavery was not merely an economic mistake or a bad business model. Slavery was about ethnic domination. It was about racial hierarchy. It was about racism embedded directly into the law, the culture, and the social order. And yet, despite all of that, there were white people who stood up and opposed slavery anyway. Not because they stood to gain financially, not because it was safe, but because they recognized it as a moral wrong. And they didn't just argue. They didn't write a bunch of essays. They weren't on the internet tapping on keys. They were out there fighting, and in many cases dying for what they believed in. Let that name that you heard roll on with some more. Now I'm gonna run some names down to you. Some names you probably never heard of. There was a white woman named Elijah P. Lovejoy. Do y'all know who that is? I'm gonna see if I can pull some pictures up. We gonna play the game tonight. I'm gonna let you look at these white people malfunction. I told y'all white people was malfunction. Y'all thought I was gonna do something else. Y'all thought I was gonna do what the rest of these people on the internet do, didn't you? That's what you thought. You all thought, oh, Uncle D is just about to, no, that ain't what we do over here. That's why I don't have 100,000 followers, because I don't tell you what you want to hear. I don't care. You're gonna learn something today. You're gonna learn something over here. Elijah P. Lovejoy. Here's another white man. Look at him. Very white. Okay? Elijah Parrish Lovejoy. Let me see if I can get a better picture. It's right there. There he is. Look at him. Very white. He was an abolitionist. He was a he was a journalist. He was a minister. He published this. The man was born in 1837. Let me get a better picture of him for you. Very white. Now, here's the cold part about it. He published an anti-slavery newspaper in Missouri. Anybody who lives in Missouri knows Missouri is the northernmost Confederate state there. Missouri is probably as racist as Mississippi. Okay? And publishing an anti-slavery newspaper in Missouri at that was a death wish. But he refused to stop. He refused to be intimidated. He was malfunctioning. Somebody typed malfunctioning in the chat room. And guess what happened to him? They murdered him. He was murdered by pro-slavery. A whole white mob murdered him while he was defending his press in Alton, Illinois, because he had another press over there. He had another paper over there. Understand this clearly. He was killed by white people for opposing slavery. You understand? White people malfunctioning. You understand? There he is. Elijah P. Lovejoy. Example of a white man malfunctioning. Let's get another one up here. Because, these people, y'all, she's crazy. Why would he do that, right? Here's another one. William Lloyd Garrison. Another white man, another publisher, newspaper guy. He was the founder of a paper called The Liberator. He demanded immediate abolition on moral and Christian grounds. There's no compromise. None of that gradualism. Give these people their rights. In 1835, a white mob in Boston. I thought the North was free, Uncle D. Hell no, racism was everywhere. In Boston, they dragged him through the streets with a rope around his neck. You understand me? This white man right here, this very, very white, you would see this white man in Walmart, you swear up and down, he's got to be some, he got to have some Confederate flags in his house. This man right here, this white dude right here, looks like an old professor or something like. They dragged him through the streets of Boston with a rope around his neck, and he barely escaped with his life. What was his crime? He called slavery a sin. This is another white man malfunctioning. He's another white man malfunctioning. There he is. Look at him. See that? That white man right there. What about this one? I know y'all heard of this one. I'm sure they taught you this between learning about Dr. Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman freeing the slaves. I'm sure they taught you guys about John Brown, right? You know who John Brown is? He's a bad one. Not only was he an abolitionist, he's a militant, as they say. he was willing to put that fire on him. That's John Brown right there. You see that? He didn't just oppose slavery intellectually. He wasn't just talking about it. He was about it. He took up arms. This man led a violent resistance in Kansas. They call it Harper's Fury. What he was trying to do is he was trying to spark up a slave uprising. Look, you got to understand something. There was so many slave uprising folks. White folks was scared to sleep. They couldn't close their eyes in some places. You surrounded by slaves on a plantation. It's just you. They didn't have a whole bunch of sheriffs and stuff. That you wasn't a 911 in 1850. And so the idea that this white man was trying to arm black people who were enslaved and spark a rebellion, he was malfunctioning. This is another example of a white person malfunctioning. Nevertheless, they captured him, they tried him, and they killed him in the state of Virginia. And John Brown believed slavery was so evil that it justified taking up arms and unaliving the people who put you in slavery. This is another white person malfunctioning. You understand? Y'all still with me? Y'all still here? Remember, how did we start? How did we get here, Uncle D? We were talking about that young white woman, Renee Good, malfunctioning. Remember, we were talking about her, the one who got unalived by the ICE agent because she decided to put her life on the line protesting against black and brown criminals being targeted. You understand me? Now, who is this? This is Thomas Garrett. He was a Quaker. He was an abolitionist, and he is what is called an Underground Railroad conductor. Now, an Underground Railroad, there wasn't no railroad, okay? There's no railroad. Basically, it was just people going from safe house to safe house till they got to free states. He was one of the people that put black folks up. He helped 2,500 enslaved black people escape to freedom. Okay, what you need to understand is there was something in place called the Fugitive Slave Act. Okay, the Fugitive Slave Act punished. If you got white courts would punish you. They would take your wealth. The slave catchers would threaten your life. It was legal if they got caught you doing that, and he did it anyway. 2,500 slaves multiplied 2,500 times $300-400 a piece. And at the time, $300-400 could be $25,000. So $25,000 times 2,500. That's the value that was on us. That's a lot of money. It's hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. Okay, he would have lost it all. He did it anyway. You understand? I need you to understand that. The courts caught up with him. He got punished tremendously, and he lost everything because of that. So they tried him and convicted him of violating the Fugitive Slave Act, right? Openly and repeatedly, and he got sued, and they punished him. This man lost everything. He lost all his financial wealth trying to help us. That's a white man malfunction. Could you imagine what his wife and children had to say to him? You down there helping those dark, now we're poor. You lost everything, helping the blacks. They don't care. Can you imagine you threw your life away? Can you imagine the conversations his family has with him? Even to this day, when they hear what happened, how he threw their wealth away helping blacks. Here's another one. This is more recent time. Are y'all still with me? I need to make sure y'all hit the number 1. You're learning something? If you're learning something, hit the number 1 button. If you're learning something, hit the subscribe button, okay? Who is this fella? This is James Rebb, okay? James Rebb traveled to Selma, Alabama to support black voting rights during the Civil Rights Movement. Guess what they did to him? He was down there saying, he was a minister, and all he did was they knew he left the diner. They beat him to death in the street. White men beat him to death in the street. Other white men beat this white man to death in the street. Here's a newspaper article. This is common. Why don't we ever talk about this? Why? I mean, I'm just saying, family, why we don't talk about these malfunction white people? Why we don't talk about? Here's the article right there, if you can see it. Reverend Rebb dies from savage beating in Selma, Alabama. You understand? He put it all on the line. This is 100 years after slavery. They beat this man to death. White supremacy was still killing white folk who opposed them. Again, this is white people malfunctioning. Okay? Now here's another story. This is one of my favorite. Her name is Viola. I can't even say the name. Liuzzo. And I'm assuming she's Italian. Let me see if I can pull this up for you. Okay? More white people now. Look at this white woman. Now what all she was doing was using her car to transport black student activists during the Selma voting rights campaign. Black folk just wanted to vote. They shot this white woman. Okay? She was killed by members of the Ku Klux Klan while driving civil rights work. They shot this white woman right here. This is one of the whitest white women you look. They shot her in her car. All she was doing, this woman was murdered by white supremacists, white men, for helping black children organize people to vote. You understand what I'm saying? Malfunctioning. These are more examples of white people malfunctioning, and I'm absolutely certain there were plenty of people just like you all who had those comments. Oh, she should have just complied. She just mind her business. It was illegal for black people to vote. Oh my God. I'm sure it was just like you all, just like y'all think about this white woman, Renee Good, right? Right? I'm sure, absolutely certain that was people thought she was crazy and malfunctioning. I'm absolutely certain of it. Family, somebody type Uno reverse in the chat room. Here's another one. Okay, and you guys ever seen the movie Mississippi Burning? But this young man name was Michael Schwerner. He was a civil rights organizer. This black man and these two white men, well, actually they're Jewish, but bottom line is they were down in Mississippi registering black voters, and they were confronted by some white supremacists. And this is a horrible time. Look at the movie Mississippi Burning. These two white men and that young black man were murdered by the KKK with cooperation from the local law enforcement, the white law enforcement. They were targeted because he was a white man helping black people. You understand me? And the other man next to him is Andrew Good, and he was also a college student. He was joined with Schwerner. So here's the thing. All right, let me get on back, y'all. I'm just saying. Okay, these people were not killed by black Americans. They were punished by white supremacists, by white people for breaking from it. Okay, so when you see white people today clashing with the state or the federal government, protesting enforcement and breaking the law in the name of conscience, understand something important. This is not new. This is historical. And white supremacy has always responded to internal dissent with violence. And the lesson for black Americans is still the same. You understand? Now, let's continue. Shall we continue? See, it's not just their lives that these white folks are willing to put on the line. They're willing to sacrifice their reputations, their careers, their wealth, their social standing. And see, that's the part that gets conveniently let out. Let me put this white woman back up that y'all been roasting, that y'all saying she's stupid, because she's out there defending black people who she feel are legally being targeted by racist law enforcement. Let me get this white woman back up here that you all got so much to say about today. Praise God. Yes, Lord, I'm doing the Lord's work today. I feel it myself. Let's go ahead and y'all, let's go ahead and put your hit spot. Somebody type Uno reverse in the chat room. Let's go ahead and put this up here. Hit the #1 button. Do you see her? Y'all said she's crazy. Why would this white woman take her children out there and risk her life? Y'all sound like some of the most racist white people I've ever heard before. She deserved that. Look at her history. Black people. Y'all had a whole lot to say about this Renee Nicole Good, didn't you? You did. She's stupid. She should have stopped Brazil. Y'all sound just like the racists. Somebody type Uno reverse in the chat room. If you're mad, hit the like button. If you're mad, hit the like button. Now that we understand what we're talking about, Huh? We yeah. Look, at the time when black folks were fighting for their freedom, opposing slavery, opposing Jim Crow, it was not a respectable position. You was crazy, especially if you were a white person. It definitely wasn't mainstream. It certainly was not popular. It was literally a political suicide. And in fact, when the Republican Party was founded in the 1850s, it was explicitly an anti-slavery party. Yes, it was composed almost entirely of white men. And the stance cost them elections, it cost them donors, it cost them family members, it cost them social ties. They were not being let into the equivalent of the white people cookout. They could not come to the cookout anymore. Matter of fact, many of them were targeted for violence. They had to keep that on. White men, these more white men malfunctioning, just like that little white girl, Renee Cole Good. The newspapers called them traitors. They called them stupid. They called them everything but the child of God. Southern states just banned their literature. You had politicians losing their careers, their livelihoods, because they opposed the expansion of slavery. That's how serious it was. You had white people who actively participated in the Underground Railroad and they lost it all. That's not symbolism. It's not just out there protesting with a sign. These people were doing criminal conduct in violation of federal law of the Fugitive Slave Act of 1793. And later it got much harsher in 1850. It was a federal crime. Your behind was going to jail. If you harbored a fugitive slave, which means if you let one in, if you gave him some food, if you assisted him in any way, you gave him a piece of clothing, a plate of a walking stick. If you gave him food, shelter, transportation, or guidance, if you told him to go left, that's a violation. Saying, and here's the cold part: if they refused to snitch and cooperate with the slave catchers, that was also a violation. This is what white people did. White people malfunctioning. This is what they did. For y'all black behinds. The U.S. Marshal, the federal government. The federal government was legally required to hunt black people in free states. You couldn't run to New York. You couldn't run to New Jersey, Massachusetts, Virginia. They could go get you up there. The federal agency. And I'm sure there was white people out there saying, the feds are coming, just like it's white people saying, the ICE is coming right now. And if they caught your behind, they put you in shackles and sent your black ass back down south. You could establish a hole that your kids, your car, not car, they ain't had cars, but your horse, your mule, your chickens, you just pop up missing. You go to work one day, next you come, you gone. Here's the cold part about it. The judges were paid more for ruling in favor of the slaveholders. You understand me? They got paid less if they ruled in favor of black freedom. Let that sink in. Helping a black person escape, helping these black people who escaped slavery, these criminal black people who escaped slavery, was frowned upon. They were criminals. They escaped slavery. That's what the Fugitive Slave Act said. These black people are criminals. And how dare you white people to help them escape? This is the law. They're here illegally. These black people are in the North illegally. They don't have their papers. And you all are helping them escape. And helping them escape was what? Not only was it frowned upon, it was punishable by prison time, massive fines, and just financial rule. Your whole family was destroyed. Your whole family was destroyed for refusing to comply. And white people still did it. White people still did it. They lost business. They lost professional licenses. They were blacklisted socially. They couldn't do it. They were branded radicals, criminals, enemies of the state. People call them crazy. And remember, the most important thing at the time, black people were legally considered property. You wasn't even a person. So from the dominant white legal perspective, helping an enslaved black person escape wasn't even seen as a moral act. It was seen as theft. So you was a crook. You understand? It was viewed as stealing another white man's property. In that era, that's how they perceived things. And that was considered one of the highest offenses. I mean, you know, it was up there as high as violent crime. So when white abolitionists broke the law, they weren't just breaking unjust laws. They were violating the core economic, racial order of the society at the time. And they knew it. And they knew it would cost them elections, and they knew it would cost them status, and they knew it would cost them their own safety and the safety of their families. And these malfunctioning white people did it anyway. God damn it. These white Americans been malfunctioning a long time. And that's why it's important to be honest, family. Look, opposing slavery at the time went directly against the culture at the time. It was not rewarded, it was punished violently, which is why when you see white people today risking their reputations, their careers, and their lives to oppose what they perceive as racial injustice, because we know goddamn well it's unjust. You got all these black people being targeted by these federal agents. I don't see no white people getting arrested. You know goddamn well it's racial. I'm just saying we support it. We want to see them gone. We want to get, I'm with you, baby. I feel you, okay? This making me rich. You understand? But we still got to call it what it is. We got to call a spade a spade. You dig? All I'm seeing right now is a historical pattern repeat itself. And the lesson for black Americans remains the same. We recognize and we understand it, okay? But don't confuse their moral reckoning with our obligation. I'm not saying you got to go do anything. I'm just trying to teach you something tonight. Are you learning something? Are you learning something? Huh? Are you learning something? If you're learning something, let me know. If you're not, I could just end this broadcast right now. Now, here's the thing. When you see white people protesting ICE, I want all you black Americans to come bring your black behinds up. When you see these white folk laying it all out there protesting ICE, you ain't got to agree with them. But I expect you to give them grace because they did the same thing for us. You understand me? So now moving forward, so you can understand why you're seeing these white folk in the streets protesting ICE, especially in places like Minnesota, where those black ass Somalis who don't think they black are black as hell. Shout out to all you black ass Somalians out there who don't think you're black. You're black as hell. Okay? Nevertheless, white people see you as black. We see you as black. You the only ones that don't see yourself as black. Nevertheless, when you see these white folk out there, especially in Minnesota, protesting against these federal agents targeting these black immigrants, this isn't random. This isn't even unprecedented. This is not even unfamiliar. So you see the case of Renee Nicole Good, and we talked about that earlier. Renee Good was a 37-year-old white woman, a U.S. citizen, a mama. You know, she was a poet. In fact, she was a widow. Okay, her husband died. She didn't basically, you know, y'all was like, oh no, she just, I don't know, she's just, you know, her husband. She's a widow. All of them, she got widow with kids. She's a mama. You know, y'all don't date single mothers anyway. So she had to get a woman, right? I'm just saying, give her grace. Okay? I'm just saying, fellas, she's a widow. Y'all don't want to date a 37-year-old single mother with kids. Y'all said that on the internet. Somebody typed red pill in the chat room. Somebody typed wall in the chat room. Isn't that what you said? That's what you've been saying on the internet for years. You don't want single mothers with kids. Her husband died. Right? So she got a woman. She's an English teacher, you know? She just dropped a 6-year-old off at school and was driving home when she saw ICE by happenstance. She saw ICE in Minneapolis and she felt compelled to do something. She wasn't on ICE's, she wasn't going to be targeted by it. She's a white woman. They ain't looking for her. Why would they be looking for her? Kidding me? Now she says she's not a legal observer, right? I'm not saying. She wasn't charged with any crime. But she got shot. She got shot in the driver's seat of her car, and the federal officials claimed that the shooting was self-defense. Somebody thought it was self-defense. The police officers did their own investigation. The law enforcement agencies did their own investigation, and they came to the determination they were not at fault. The officer has been put on administrative duty until the full and final investigation is complete. We ask the public not to jump to any conclusions, let all the evidence come in. However, we've already determined within a matter of 12 hours that the officer wasn't at fault, right? In fact, the officer said it was self-defense, and he alleges she attempted to flee and possibly strike the officer with her car. And of course, he went to the hospital and he had internal bleeding because, gosh, right? Shout out to April Thompson. What? Of course, yeah, you got to go to the hospital. Of course, we know cops never make things up, ever. Cops have never feigned injuries. We've never seen a cop fake an injury after a shooting to garner sympathy. We've never seen that, ever. You black folks have never seen cops fake like, oh yeah, he bit me or he scratched me. Look at this huge, 3mm scratch on my face. That's why I had to put a cap in his black behind. You've never seen police officers do that. Come on, where we at? Support the blue. Isn't that what we were saying earlier in the first hour of this broadcast? Support the blue? Huh? Anyway, y'all seen the videos. You can determine for yourself what the facts are. Okay? But I think we all can agree that this white woman was malfunctioning, right? Just like some of those other white people we was talking about, right? Huh? Right? And now you got white folk who are saying, no. She's got vigils being held for it. You got more protests being erupted. Federal buildings are being surrounded. White people, other white people who are malfunctioning are flooding the streets. All right? And the cops are hitting them with tear gas. White people throwing tear gas at other white people. There's a 6-month-old baby who got exposed to tear gas and ended up in the hospital. Now I want to pause because see, here's where perspective matters. We as Black Americans, we've seen this movie before, haven't we? Right? Right? I just told y'all about the white people who are breaking the law and being disrupt and confronting federal authorities when their conscience tells them something is wrong. That's not new to us, right? Didn't y'all just hear the history lesson that I gave? The white abolitionists broke the law for your black behind. The civil rights allies broke the law for your black behinds. The white clergy broke the law for your black behinds. The white students died for you. They violated the Fugitive Slave Act, which is federal law. They violated the segregation laws, which is state law. They violated order in the name of justice, and many of them paid the ultimate price with their lives. So when you see white people today protesting ICE, blocking streets, confronting agents, risking arrest, risking escalation, give them grace. Not because you agree with them, not because you plan on joining them, but because historically This is what it looks like when white people decide to confront their own racist system. That doesn't mean it's our job to be out there. That doesn't mean we should absorb the risk. It means we recognize the pattern, and Renee Good believes she was doing the right thing. And her family describes her as compassionate, as deeply moral, as guided by faith, and committed to kindness. She died as a result of confronting a confrontation with the state. And that story, that white conscience colliding with the state power, is as old as America. So yes, give them grace. But also understand this clearly. And I want you to hear me if you don't hear anything else. This is white people dealing with white power. This is white people correcting white people. And Black Americans have already paid more than enough blood for this nation. And we can acknowledge their sacrifice without volunteering ours. And that distinction matters. Look, all my well-meaning white people, that's not always a good thing. And this is where people get uncomfortable. You're about to get uncomfortable. Somebody type uncomfortable in the chat room. See, some people have a problem, not with compassion, but with who compassion is being extended to. And that's where the phrase well-meaning becomes dangerous. Listen, sometimes well-meaning is not a virtue. Shout out to all the well-meaning white people. Somebody type well-meaning in the chat room. Sometimes well-meaning is not a virtue. Sometimes it's a failure of judgment. This is where people stop listening. But this is also where the facts matter. See, the kind of Black and brown people that they're fighting to protect from racist targeting, a lot of white people are judging Black Americans because we don't want to get involved with these protests. They see our refusal to march, to block streets, or confront ICE as moral fair. They try to compound that judgment by trying to draw corollaries between the civil rights movement, our fight for dignity and citizenship and survival in a country we built, and what the illegal criminal aliens are dealing with today, along with what white activists are facing standing up for them. And see, that comparison is offensive to Black people. I think I can speak for most Black. It's offensive, isn't it? Because it collapses our history, our sacrifice, our status as people who have been here for centuries into the same category as people who just arrived and in many cases have committed serious and heinous crimes. And see, our struggle was about ending legalized racial terror against a foundational population, i.e. foundational Black Americans that built and defended this country, our country. And so trying to equate that with the current immigration fight and shaming Black Americans for not joining it, that's not solidarity, that's disrespectful. Now, ICE just released that the Minnesota officials didn't want this to come out, okay? But what ICE did is they released some information. And, Uncle D has, I got it for you. I'm going to always give it to you, whether you want it or not. You're going to look at it over here. You're going to see it. I'm going to let you see it. Okay, these are the Black and brown people. I want you to see the Black and brown people that these well-meaning white folk like Renee Good are protesting on behalf of. Racist as it may be. Okay, it's still racist, but these are the people. Okay, can y'all see that? Hit the number one button. Let me know you can see it clearly. Are you learning something? Are you learning something? If you learn something, I should earn something. But more important, I need you to hit that like button, okay? Now look, we're not talking about vibes. It's not rumors. This is the list. So according to ICE, these individuals were living freely in Minnesota despite these serious felony convictions and long-standing final deportations order. Some cases go back 20 years. And so we're not talking about traffic violations. We're not talking about paperwork errors. We are talking about hardened, violent felons. And here's the facts. I want you to look at the cats right here, left to right. Okay, this dude, I can't even say the name, Sheridan Pavilion. This man is from he's a Laotian national. He is a convicted sexual crime. He's convicted sex crimes against kids. He has had a deportation order since 2018. The one next to him, we're going from left to right, starting at the top. Tao Vang, another Laotian national, convicted of sex assault of minor and child exploitation and deportation order since 2006. Look, YouTube, I'm talking about legal criminal matters right now. Please don't demonetize this channel, YouTube. We are talking about criminal activity, okay? And so don't demonetize this. Normally, this is a family-friendly show, but we got to do what we got to do tonight. So this other fella, Chong Vu, a Laotian national, convicted of rape and kidnapping of a minor. This is the top three. They still think about that. This is who was running around Minnesota. The deportation order. He's been supposed to be gone in 2004. The one next to him, Guy Yang, another Laotian national, convicted of rape, aggravated ag assault with a weapon and strangulation. He's supposed to be deported during the Obama years in 2012. Here's another one next to him. This is just the top six. Pao Chong Zhang, another Laotian national, convicted of rape and child imming. Okay. The deportation order since 2003. The one next to him, we still on the top row. Laotian national, his name is Kuo Lor, convicted of rape with a weapon, and SA. Okay? Deportation order since 1996. You did? Here's another one. Hernan Cortez Valencia, Mexican national, convicted of SA, child, DUI, deportation order since 2016. Here's another one. Abadrisha Adash Imla, Somalian national, convicted of homicide. Okay? That's that cat right there. Gilberto Lavendra Landaverde. Gilberto Landaverde, Salvadorian national, convicted of 3 counts of homicide, deportation order since 2025. These are the people that Renee Good was protecting, family. These are the people that was running around Minnesota. All right, another one. Gabriel Figueroa Gama, Mexican national, convicted of homicide, previously deported in 2002. He came back. They had to get him up out of here again. Galuka Michael Ratugo Ratga Sudanese national, convicted of homicide. Another one, Theolor, Laotian national, convicted of 2 counts of homicide, deportation order since 2009. Mariana Sua Canu, Sierra Leone national, that's going to be her right there, convicted of 2 counts of homicide, deported. This is the woman. This is what they're getting up out of here. Deportation order since 2022. Now look, I will admit, all of these people are black. I'm sure some white illegal aliens out here committing crimes. This is racism. This is what Renee saw. Renee Good said, this is racism. I'm going to fight it. You should be, I'm just saying, family. This is what we're talking about, right? I'm just saying now, they're criminals. They're criminals. Just like black people were criminals. And I know y'all have a problem with that, but we're going to deal with that too. I'm going to hit you in the mouth when I finish. Here's another one. Let's get through the list. Mongong Dual Mangdang Dang, Sudanese national, convicted of attempted homicide, weapons charge, and DUI. Alex Gomez Lucas, Guatemalan national, convicted of negligent homicide with a vehicle. He driving drunk. DUI, deportation since 2022. And last but not least, Sotho, a Bernese national, convicted of negligent homicide. And according to ICE, every one of these individuals was walking free in Minnesota. Okay? Prior to the recent enforcement action, they was free to do whatever they wanted to do. You understand what I mean? And some of these final removal orders stretch back 30 years. And they still here. You understand? I'm just saying. Now here's a part people avoid saying out loud. Huh? I'm over here yelling at the internet. I need some water. I had to get my family to give me some water real quick. Hold on a minute. Here, y'all still, let me know if you still with me. Hit the number 1 button, man. Yeah. Have it just by show of hands. Have you all learned something tonight? Are you now, because y'all quiet now, what happened to all that back to blue that we had earlier? Where's the back to blue? Y'all don't know how to feel, huh? Huh? Y'all don't know how to feel, do you? Confused. I know, bless your heart. Somebody type Uno reverse in the chat room. Somebody type Uno reverse in the chat, because we're going to Uno reverse again. We're going to go the other way, right? We're going to go the other way. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. My son brought me some water. Okay, let's continue. All right? Y'all with me? Don't be mad at Uncle D. Somebody type Uno reverse in the chat room. See, here's the thing, man. Now, you know, these, like I said, these folks have been loose for 30 years, some of them. These are the same folks, the Minnesota politicians and the mayor saying, oh, these are neighbors. These are neighbors. And these are the same cases used rhetorically to demand limits on ICE operations. These are the same enforcement actions being obstructed in the name of anti-racism. And let me be precise. Minnesota's sanctuary policies, they don't protect families. They certainly didn't protect children. You got all these people around here with these, that's crazy. People who did horrible things to children, that's terrible. They don't protect black and brown communities. They protected the convicted criminals. And this is where well-meaning becomes reckless, because at the end of the day, we appreciate you malfunctioning white folk. Huh? We appreciate you well-meaning white people. But we think some of your well-meaningness is reckless. Because see, when enforcement is blocked wholesale, without distinction between nonviolent status and violations and violent felony convictions, the people who pay the price are not white activists. They're working class black and brown people. You see? That's where these folk end up. They end up in our communities. You understand? Where do you think they live? They're not living in a rich neighborhood. They're released and recycled. You understand what I'm saying? So yes, some white people out there protesting ICE with sincere moral intent, but intent does not erase consequences. Okay? Shout out to Alabama Clay. And when compassion refuses to discriminate between innocent and violent, it stops being justice and becomes negligent. And that's why some black Americans, a lot of black Americans are not impressed by slogans like, you know, we're confused by what y'all doing. It's not that we're heartless, okay? And we understand something very simple, and you can oppose racism without defending predators. Is that true? Right? We can challenge state power without shielding killers. Okay? And you can care about immigrants without lying about who's actually being protected. Shout out to Dre Harden. And that distinction matters. And ignoring it it's not moral courage, it's malfunction. Now here's something very insidious. And it's probably the most insidious part that I'm going to have to discuss tonight, and I want you all to listen very closely. Somebody, all my good spellers, somebody type insidious in the chat room. If you're a good speller, type insidious in the chat room. Because remember, we learning something. Some people don't know how to spell insidious. Type insidious. The most insidious aspect of what we're watching right now is this, and I want you to listen very carefully. All right, even the most well-meaning white people, right? They're still operating inside white supremacy. They may reject the brutality. They may protect a protest against the optics. They don't like to see people being rounded up and sent. No, I get that. And they oppose the violence, but they have not escaped the worldview that it imposes upon them. And see, here's the thing. Black leadership, going way back, whether we talk about El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, Dr. King, the Honorable Thurgood Marshall, whether they're talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, okay? Brother Thurgood, he understood as a lawyer. Dr. King came to it reluctantly. Brother Malcolm said it plainly. And Elijah Muhammad never pretended otherwise. They all arrived at the same conclusion. White liberals and white allies still believe black people are inherently criminal and incapable of governing themselves. And they just express it differently. And here's how it's showing up today. Come on, I'm gonna bring it home, all right? When these well-meaning white protesters go to the streets, they don't distinguish between enslaved black Americans fighting for freedom, black American citizens asserting civil rights, and illegal immigrants who are convicted of violent criminal. To them, it's the same category. Why? Because under white supremacist logic, blackness itself equals criminality. And that's the quiet part. And see, because under white supremacist logic, blackness itself equals criminality, that belief doesn't require a crime or evidence or behavior. It is assumed at the point of existence. It is why black people are treated as suspects before being treated as citizens, when innocence has to be proven rather than presumed. And this is why our presence alone is often framed as a threat. And see, this logic is it's baked into the policing, sentencing, media narratives, and public policy. And where black communities are over-policed, overcharged, and over-incarcerated while being underprotected. That's why that happens. And it's why a black child is seen as older and more dangerous. That's where your Tamir Rice came in. It's why a black woman is less deserving of health care or even credibility. And it's why a black man is deemed as inherently violent. And this framework doesn't justify, they don't use it to just justify punishment, okay? After the fact, it's rationalized, okay? It's why we have to deal with the surveillance and the control and the preemptive force before anything happens. And, you know, even when white people believe they're being progressive or protective, they often still operate inside the same assumption, collapsing black identity into criminality and treating harm to us as expected, routine, or inevitable. And this is the quiet engine of white supremacy, not just hatred, but the normalization of black guilt. See, black people are offended. We're offended when we're compared to these criminal aliens. Y'all are mad. How dare Uncle D? He said, context, Uncle D, context. These people are criminals. We wasn't criminals. We was fighting for freedom. Right? Y'all were mad about that, right? About an hour ago. But that's from our perspective as black people. We never did anything we believe was criminal. But to them, to these brainwashed white folk who've been subjected to white supremacy for hundreds of years, we all the same. Escaping slavery was not a crime to us. It was survival. Sitting at a lunch counter, riding a bus, voting, demanding equal rights, none of that was criminal to us, right? Even though it was an assertion of basic human rights in the country our ancestors built. Okay, yeah, it was against the law, but our belief was those laws were immoral, they were illegitimate, and they were designed to enforce a racial subjugation, not justice. But white people don't see it that way. they to them, we're all the same. See, under this white supremacist brainwashing, and we always talk about what white supremacy and the effect it has on black people and, you know, people of color, but we never talk about the mind warp that it does to white people. See, under white supremacist brainwashing, legality equals morality, and blackness itself is treated as a permanent offense. So resistance, survival, citizenship claims, immigration violation, and even violent crime all collapse into one indifferent. You can't differentiate between the categories in their minds, okay? We're all the same to them. And when they equate our historical struggle with people who violated immigration law, and in many cases committed very serious crimes, what they're really revealing is that black resistance and criminality occupy the same mental space for them. And that's why the comparison is insulting, okay? Because it erases the moral clarity of our fight and exposes the persistent belief that black folk are wrong simply for refusing to submit. And so when they say they're standing against racism, what they're really doing, whether they admit it or not, is projecting their own internal racial assumptions onto the issue. They assume we're all victims. They assume we're all powerless. They assume we're all objects that need to be rescued. We need that great white savior. Okay? All right. And then the other thing is they assume that we are all fundamentally suspect. And that's why they lump us together. Whether we're talking about fugitive slaves, civil rights activists, or whether we're talking about illegal immigrants who are convicted rapists, murderers, and child predators, they don't see any difference because they never truly saw you as different. And see, family, that's not solidarity. That's infantilization. Brother Malcolm warned us about this explicitly. He said that the white liberal is more dangerous than the open racist because the liberal smiles while still believing you're inferior or criminal. Dr. King learned the hard way when white moderates told him, wait, be patient. Let the other decide when black freedom. Let the white folk decide when black freedom is appropriate. Brother Thurgood Marshall, the great, one of my all-time, I'm a lawyer because of Thurgood Marshall, man. You know, brilliant. He saw it in courtrooms. I see it in courtrooms. He saw what white judges who claim to be neutral still presume black guilt. Because it's baked into the psychology. That's the insidiousness of white supremacy racism. It messes over white people. Something terrible. They can't see straight. And of course, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad rejected the entire framework because he understood something fundamental. You cannot be free in the mind of someone who does not believe you're capable of freedom. So yes, these white protesters, they are sincere, they're well-meaning. People like Renee Good, yes. They are risking arrest. They're risking their lives, but sincerity does not cleanse racism. All those white folk that I was telling you about earlier, all them well-meaning white folk that put it on the line for us, yeah, they still harbor those racist sentiments. How can you not? Just like the one, they still don't believe black Americans can govern ourselves. They still don't believe we can police our own communities. They still don't believe we can define justice on our own terms. That's why they feel entitled to speak for us or to monitor the people that we have speaking for us. This is why you have the term coon or house Negro or whatever y'all call them when they get black folk to say the stuff that they can't say. Right? So they uplift somebody from our community to say the things that they feed them to say, and they reward them well. You see? Because they don't feel like we can speak for ourselves. But here's the thing. That's why they feel authorized to decide what justice looks like in our neighborhoods. That's why they're comfortable defending foreign criminals while ignoring the damage done to black communities where those criminals are placed. And when black Americans object, we're told we're self-hating. We're anti-immigrant. We're xenophobic. We're confused. No, we're clear. We understand something these well-meaning white people refuse to confront. That their compassion is built on a foundation that still sees black people as permanent suspects. And so when they rush to defend criminalized black and brown bodies without distinction, what they're really saying is we expect criminality from you all anyway. And that's an insult, right? But that's also why black leaders from different ideologies, from different eras, and from different strategies have all arrived at that hard truth. White support does not equal white respect. And white protest does not mean white supremacy has been dismantled. It just means it's malfunctioning. And malfunction still lands on us, which is why black Americans must remain clear-headed and unsentimental and disciplined. We recognize their sacrifice. All these well-meaning white folk like Miss Renee, but we don't have to surrender our good judgment. We can acknowledge their protests without accepting their assumptions, and we can protect ourselves without needing their permission. That's not hatred, and that's not hate. That's survival. Now, it's getting real serious. Okay? Because when you got white folk malfunctioning, right? Y'all heard what I told, what they did to the white people. And I know we got a lot of Trump people who are, hey, look, man, whoever you vote for, baby, Uncle D tell you to vote your interest, baby. Just vote your interest. I did it for the money. I'm going to have some low taxes this year. Nevertheless, we must acknowledge that Donald Trump and a lot of other people on the white right see these white liberals protesting against the targeting of these illegal black and brown immigrants are racist. We got to acknowledge that, right? Huh? We see it for what it is, right? And so now you hearing Donald Trump considering invoking something called the Insurrection Act. We're going to learn something. Okay? A lot of people are reacting emotionally without understanding what that actually means. So let's slow down for a minute. We're going to deal with some facts. So y'all still with me? Y'all want me to stop? I got stuff to do tomorrow, but I want to try to get this in because I want you to learn something. Okay? The Insurrection Act. 1792, we had just become a country. Okay? What it does is it gives the president authority to deploy the United States military or federalized national guards into the United States, into our land, and like they're gonna be in your backyard. All right, and under what grounds? When civil order breaks down, or should I say, when ordinary law enforcement can't handle an insurrection. The federal law gives the president to put troops in there. And see, here's the thing. There's something called the Posse Comitatus Act. And our founder said, we don't ever want you to put the federal government, we don't ever want you to put troops in it's illegal for you to put troops on American soil, period. They can't do it. You can't deploy them on nope, we're not doing it. Okay. And so they had something called the Posse Comitatus Act, but this Insurrection Act is an exception to that. Okay. Again, the Posse Comitatus Act basically said it normally keeps military out of domestic policing. In plain English, this law exists for moments when the states decide disorder has crossed the line into rebellion. Okay, and we looking at systematic obstruction. And under the statute, the president can act if the state either asks for assistance, okay, if there's unlawful assemblies, okay, or it's impossible for the federal courts to enforce it, or when the domestic violence deprives people of their constitutional rights. And so state authorities, are when they're unwilling to do it, the president steps in. Okay, now Donald Trump, in my opinion, and I'm gonna give you my legal opinion, Donald Trump would be justified. And here's the cold part about it. The Supreme Court has already ruled and settled this a long time ago in the cases Martin v. Mott of 1827. The determination of when that threshold is crossed is solely in the hands of the president. Okay. And now, so the question we should be at is Donald Trump, would he be justified in sending federal troops to to Minneapolis? Well, let's analyze that. Okay. You got federal law enforcement who are being physically attacked and obstructed in Minneapolis. You had one stop where an ICE agent was ambushed and assaulted with a snow shovel. They was beating his butt with a snow shovel. All right. And he was forced to discharge his weapon for self-defense after his life was threatened. You understand? They've been you got the Department of Homeland Security. They're surrounding their vehicles. They're hurling projectiles. They're creating conditions where law enforcement can't safely conduct lawful operations, and you got to break down the law and order. And they can't enforce federal law under ordinary means. So what does that? So what does that Insurrection Act say? Under the Insurrection Act, when federal officers are assaulted, obstructed, or prevented from carrying out their duties, and the civilian authorities, like up in Minnesota, they can't maintain control. The president has the constitutional and statutory authority to deploy federal troops or National Guard units to restore order and protect the rule of law. And that's exactly the scenarios you see unfolding right now. Because you got these local leaders, they refuse to rein in their people. And you see the violence escalating. Now that brings me back to 1992 when I was 18 years old in South Central, when the Rodney King uprising was popping off. And what people don't tell you, what never makes it into sanitized documentaries, is that once the National Guard and the military hit the streets, the rules change immediately. Okay, people didn't just get arrested, family. People got shot, people got killed, people got disappeared. It's about 1,000 people right now who are from South Central LA. We don't know where they were, and it's over 30 years later. A lot of folks went into the system and they never came out. And those of us who lived through it understand something others don't. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does have a shadow. And once that shadow shows up, there's no rewinding it. Now, that's what these protesters need to understand. And these are not rubber bullets and protest chants anymore. If the Insurrection Act is evoked, these are real rifles, these are real ammunition, these are real prison cells and real federal charges people are going to be facing. And interfering with a federal agent isn't just civil disobedience. At this point, it's a felony, obstruction, assault on a federal officer, and conspiracy. And you looking at a minimum of 10 years. And those, look, 120 months. You got 120. And those records are permanent. That's your life is derailed. And the stakes just went through the roof. And historically, this law has been used about 30 times. This is not something new. George Washington used it. Lincoln used it. Grant used it against the Klan. Eisenhower, Kennedy used it to force desegregation in white Southern states who defied federal authority. And George H.W. Bush used it in 1992 in L.A. to collapse when L.A. collapsed into chaos and the local authorities lost control. And the pattern is always the same. When the mobs overwhelm law enforcement and federal authority is openly defied, the federal government escalates. They're not going to negotiate. They're coming to contain. They're going to block the city off. They're going to turn the lights off. And whatever happens, happens. And see, here's the uncomfortable truth. This time, it would be white people calling the military on other white people. See, there's no black uprising or integration needs to be dealt with. These are not marginalized communities demanding access to rights. These are largely white crowds interfering with federal law enforcement, assaulting federal agents, blocking vehicles, and double and triple daring the government to do anything about it. So these are white people malfunctioning. Somebody type white Americans malfunctioning again. Okay, can we get the whole title in? And so from a legal standpoint, when I look at Trump, he wouldn't be inventing a new power or declaring martial law. He would be using the law that's written specifically for moments just like this, whether people like Trump or not is irrelevant. The law doesn't ask about whether or not he's popular. It asks whether federal authority is being nullified on the ground. And so if the Insurrection Act gets invoked, it won't be because America suddenly turned authoritarian. It will be because white American pushed the state into a corner, openly defying federal authority, breaking the law at a scale that forced the government to choose between enforcement and surrender. And once that choice is made, there's no softness on the side of it. People need to understand this isn't a game anymore. The consequences are real. Now, family, I got more to say, but I want to take the opportunity to read these beautiful comments on my super chats. We have 14 super chats. Did you all learn something today? If you learned something, hit the number 1 button. If you learned something, hit the number 1 button. Let me know you learned something. Okay? I need to know that you learned something. Otherwise, I haven't done my job. And if you don't owe me anything, let me say that now. You don't owe me a dime. Not a dime, not 1 red cent. You don't owe me a dime. Okay? Now, I would appreciate it if you all would hit the like button. I certainly would appreciate it if you all would hit the subscribe button. And the reason I appreciate if you hit the subscribe button, because what that does for me is it helps me march towards 100,000 followers. Okay? I'd appreciate that. Now let's go ahead and take the opportunity to read these comments from these folks who've learned something. And look, we still got a little time. If y'all can get me to, let's see if we can get to 15 super chats. We got 14 super chats. Let's get to 15 super chats. Only if you learn something, family. Only if you learn something. Let's go ahead and start reading these. I should play a little mood music so we can lighten the spirit in here. I know I took y'all on the roller coaster. Somebody type Uno reverse in the chat room. Somebody type Uno reverse in the chat room. And excuse my language, but I'm very passionate about certain things. And hypocrisy is something that I truly detest. And when I hear it from my own people, it's important for me. We very vulnerable people at all times. But let's go ahead and dig into this. Patrick Allen said, if you get rid of illegals, the pay rates will go up dramatically for simple fact that illegals are here and they're paying them very little. So the pay rates were very low because of it. Yeah, you're right, brother. We stand to benefit from seeing them gone, but we still can acknowledge the fact that the targeting of black and brown illegal immigrants, even though they're criminal immigrants, ignoring the white folk and what they do, you know, as illegal immigrants, is still racially targeted. We can peep that out, okay? We can accept the fact that, yes, I'm benefiting from this racial targeting of these black and brown people. That's the thing that I want y'all to we have to go ahead and be politically mature at this point as a group of people. And I believe we've gotten to that point, because as racist as they said Trump was, with a lot of black people still voted for him. You understand? Who else? We got 15 super chats. Well, hell, maybe we'll get to 20. Let's go ahead and talk to Patrick. He said, facts. Thank you so much. Also, we got Alabama Claychild. Even a woman with white privilege should understand that her personal privilege is not bigger than the collective white agenda. Her white arrogance was her mistake. Yeah, white people are malfunctioning. That's what the whole broad, but this is not the first time these white people who have white privilege. Remember, I told you about Cassius Marcellus Clay, the famous senator. The man went to Yale. He was the upper elite. He was friends with the president. He was malfunctioning. A rich white landowner was malfunctioning. Okay, way back in the 1840s. Okay, so it is what it is. This is white people malfunction, but it's not new to us. I just want us to understand the historical context. So let's go ahead to the next. Thank you so much for the super chat. My man, Dre Harden, Miss Minnesota ain't our issue. Takia Young and Keith Porter are, and it's been silent about them from Black Congressman Jarvis Crockett. Yeah, that doesn't serve their interest. We got 16 super chats. Maybe we'll get to 20. That'll be plenty. Dre Harden said this: Miss Minnesota was campaigning for attention and got elected. All right, thank you so much. Downrange for Uncle D, we need a different ID for all immigrants and their offspring. Example, Ethiopia has a yellow colored ID for all immigrants. As FBA and Heritage Americans, this will help delineation. So here's the problem with that. There are a lot of Jewish people who have ancestors who were forced to wear the Star of David during, the Yahtzee occupation of Germany. And, that's going to throw up red flags, different, because after you differentiate between people, what's next? You see? So just something to think. When do you stop? I'm just saying, family. Are we going to be America or are we going to be something else? All right? Because it's a slippery slope. But anyway, thank you so much for your comment. Crystal Watson 4470 super sticker. Black, thank you for that. Black by design, I learn, you earn. So what? Hey man, look, I appreciate anybody, man. If you learn something, I've done my job. I'm not gonna be on here begging. This is not my primary source of income, but I do spend a lot of time giving you all quality, and you should pay for quality. If you want quality, you got to pay for it. At the point where I'm making more money doing YouTube than I'm doing law, I'm still practice law, but I'm gonna pass my law firm over to my son, who's working his way through college right now. But and I'll do this full time, and you all will. I would turn this into a whole beautiful broadcast. It'd be something you can look on in years to come and say this is brilliant. But thank you so much, family. I appreciate you. We got 16 super chats. Let's get it to 20 if you want to, but only if you earn something. April Thompson, thank you so much. 5154. I learned something, Uncle. Thank you, baby girl. Appreciate you. GCLA, thank you for the $20 super sticker. Good looking out. Thank you so much. Alabama Claychild B1, courageously deciding to put your life on the line for personal convictions against terrorized, innocent enslaved can't be compared to paid agitator expecting to praise in the U.S. media and no personal harm for criminals being sent to their home. We kind of addressed that, but you kind of collapse that down into one thing. You understand what I'm saying? And I see why black people are offended. I explain why we would be offended by that. How dare you? Okay, but again, I explain white supremacy and their perception of black criminality also. We all criminals, okay? Just saying, let's deal with it. I mean, it's obvious. Just look at it. And the signs are there. Shout out to Dre Harden. It all was preventable by simple enforcing the law at the border before it intruded and grew. Yeah, but there's people that benefit from having all these immigrants in the country, man. There's people, there's money to be made. When you look down at the root of this problem, somebody's making a lot of money for being able to charge us for housing, being able to charge more for groceries. They get more, people have to buy more gas. There's more competition for everything. People getting rid, they can raise the prices. So just, look at it, man. Dre Harden, I see why you're a lawyer. You laid out a good argument and Roper doped us. I roped y'all, I got y'all, didn't I? Y'all didn't see none of that coming. Somebody type Uno reverse in the chat room. Somebody type Uno, I got y'all. I got y'all. Good. I knew I was gonna get you, man. Shout out to you, Dre Harden. I love you guys. I truly do enjoy what I'm doing, man. But anyway, Sonjack 9694, FBI are being replaced by immigrant black and brown. Yeah, it's by design because y'all not acting right. You black Americans y'all are not acting right. We're gonna bring some more dark people over here that we can manipulate and will be beholden to us. But anyway, shout out to Patrick Allen. Subscribe since Kevin Sam. Good looking out, family. Thank you so much. Shout out to the late great Kevin Sam. Flowers Glow, like how you tied it all together and brought it home. Yeah, man, that's what I do, baby. Yeah, all right. So we got 16 super chats. Shout out to all the 16 people who decided to show me some appreciation for what you learned tonight. Thank you so much. Now, where are my folk at? I need to know all my people who contributed to the Cash App. Thank you for Toot Rev. Thank you so much. Thank you for Trent Ingram. Thank you so much for that $100. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're a champion. And shout out to Greg L. Thank you also. I appreciate you guys. Let's do this, man. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up so you guys can be released for the evening, so you can be released from this 3-hour class. Thanks so much for the 16 super chats. Maybe we'll get to 20 before we finish. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and close this thing out because here's the thing. We're resting. All right. I want everybody in the chat room, all my black folks, all my foundational black Americans, type we're resting in the chat room. We're resting. Okay? We understand that there's been white people who've stood in the gap for us, even though we were considered illegal at some time, especially during the Fugitive Slave Act. Our mere presence in those free states was illegal. We get that. We understand. We get it. We're resting though. Now, I've said it before. Okay, we are resting. This is my advice to black people. Straight up, stay out of it. Whatever you personally feel about what's happening, whether you support ISIS efforts, shout out to Tanya Jones. We got 17. Let's get to 20. That'll be plenty. But look, like I said, whether you with it or not, whether you recognize that this enforcement is racially selective or not, whether you feel conflicted about the optics, okay? I need you to understand this clearly. This is white people breaking the law and interfering with white law enforcement. And historically, this is not new behavior. This is the same thing white people did for us during slavery. They did it during Reconstruction and during the Civil Rights Movement. White folk broke fugitive slave laws. White allies violated segregation laws. White students defied state authority. That was white people correcting other white people. And this is exactly what you're watching right now. This is white people business. And it's nothing to do with us. We have already spoken largely at the ballot box through policy preferences. Most of y'all voted for Kamala Harris anyway. You did what you had to do. We spoke. And here's another thing. We've sacrificed years of decades of sacrifice. And so what's happening in the streets right now is white Americans confronting the federal government, white politicians confronting federal authority, and white activists deciding which laws they will and will not tolerate being enforced. This is not our assignment. This is not our burden, and this is not our risk to absorb. Let me be blunt. We know how this ends for black people. When law enforcement escalates, when National Guard comes out, when the military gets mentioned, the hammer never falls evenly. Black bodies never treated as accidental participants. We're always treated as instigators and agitators and threats, even when we are just present. We just standing out here. So the smartest move, the discipline move, the survival move is to stay out of this. And we're not confused. And for all these people, we're not cowardly and we're not apathetic. What we are is experienced. We got PhDs in dealing with white people's racist bullshit. We've already paid the blood tax for this country. We've already marched. We've already been watered with water, brutalized with water hose. We've been tear gassed. We've already buried our leaders. This moment right now is not asking for our courage. It's testing our judgment. And judgment says, this is not our fight. Let white people work this out with other white people in the state. Let white people test the federal authority. Let white people negotiate the limits of enforcement and protest. Our job is to observe and remain politically sober. Because every time black people get pulled into white people fights with white people conflicts, right? We pay more than anyone else and we gain the least. So my advice to black people is simple. Stay out of it. Now, wisely, we've collectively decided to mind our business. And let me say it again, we've decided to mind our black business. And that decision is not passive, it's intentional. We are focusing on our health because a strong body and a clear mind are prerequisites of longevity and power. We're focusing on our finances because money is insulation. It presents options and it gives you leverage. And too many of us have spent generations fighting battles that left us broke. We're focusing on our families because stable households are the one institution we can actually control and protect and pass down. We're learning new line dances. Y'all been do the boo? I've been trying to do the boo thing. I've been working on it. I'm not good at it. I've been working, but anyway, we doing line dances, right? We making new music. We laughing and building and traveling. We creating culture on our own terms because joy itself is an act of self-preservation. It's not escapism. This is strategy. We're choosing life. We're choosing wealth. We're choosing continuity over chaos and spectacle and burnout. In a world that constantly tries to draft Black people into emergencies to drain us and give us nothing back, we're choosing to pour that energy into ourselves. You see? And because, see, here's the other thing. The best thing for Black people to do right now is like I said, is mind your business. Stay out of it, just like every other ethnic group stayed out of our struggle. Okay? And you had some white folk jump in there, but largely this was a Black endeavor. When we endured slavery, there wasn't no Mexicans coming up here and say, yeah, we'll pick that cotton for those Black people. We'll go ahead and do that. Matter of fact, Mexico had slavery. Native Americans had slavery. When we were navigating Reconstruction, when we were being beaten and jailed and unalived during the Civil Rights Movement, they didn't come out in droves for us. Nobody did. There was no ship sent from Somalia. They didn't send any ships from, what do they call, Laos. Mexico didn't, set up any farms and buildings that we can go to. And Venezuela didn't do anything either. Nobody rescued us. No foreign governments. Nobody mobilized on our behalf. There was no mass intervention. They minded their business and they focused on their own survival while we fought for ours. That's not bitterness. That's history. And there's a lesson in that. Now, as a Black nation within the United States, foundational Black Americans, we need to do the same. Mind our business, protect our people, invest in our families, and let the other groups and the state sort out these conflicts without drafting us into the middle. We are not obligated to absorb risks for causes that are not ours, especially when the consequences have never been shared equally. Staying out of it is not indifference, it's wisdom. It's discipline, it's understanding that survival, stability, and progress require nothing, or should I say it requires knowing when to fight and when the fight is not yours. Okay? And yes, a lot of Black Americans, we feel empathy for Renee Good. I feel sorry for her. The woman got shot and her kids are gonna grow up and see that. I feel sorry for her. It's a sad situation, but I also feel sorry for Sandra Bland. You understand? And all the other sisters have been shot. See, we can't forget our own who've been murdered by law enforcement without accountability. We've seen Black women get killed by the police time and time again. Like I said, Sandra Bland got killed in a traffic stop. Breonna Taylor shot dead in her home while she was asleep. Rekia Boyd killed by an off-duty police officer. Tatiana Jefferson shot through her window while caring for her nephew. Corinne Gaines killed during a police standoff over her rights. Little Charlene Lyles slain in front of her children. Tanisha Anderson suffocated under restraint during a crisis. Another young lady, India Kager, shot repeatedly in her car. Deborah Danner killed during a so-called welfare check. And that's just the women. That's just the Black women. We can't forget George Floyd, but he wasn't the only one. What about Eric Garner? Selling loose cigarettes in front of a store in New York or Long Island. What about Michael Brown? They describe him as like some big bear. Tamir Rice, he was a baby. Philando Castile, this man has a license to carry a weapon. Before he even got a chance to pull his ID out, he was shot. Walter Scott, Freddie Gray. Man got his neck broke in the back of a truck. It's just been too many. You see? This is just, these sort of deaths have just become part of the lived reality of Black America. And now we're here about Renee Good, this 37-year-old Minnesota mother fatally shot by ICE, you know, during a federal enforcement action. Under the circumstances, you know, to me, it remains contested as to whether the local, you know, to me, I'm looking at it, but, you know, I want to see all evidence. And we feel for her family. And we're not, okay? We cannot ignore that Black people have already paid our price in blood to live in this country. And we have done enough dying for everybody else's causes. And we've marched, we protested, we buried our dead. We carried that trauma. We don't owe anyone else any more of our bodies. We've already given enough. And so we're resting. So again, I'm not passing judgment on well-meaning white people. I'm not. And I hope you all, having listened to this broadcast, can give them some grace. Okay? Well-meaning white people are doing to ICE what they've always done. They might be malfunctioning. They're definitely breaking the law, okay? And they also broke the law when they did it for us back in the day. But I don't feel compelled to go out there and do it for anybody else. What they're doing now is supporting people who have broken the law, even vilely obstructing federal immigration enforcement. People have been seen blocking federal agents and vehicles and surrounding agents and interfering directly with their operations in Minneapolis and beyond. And after this fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent during the federal operation, it's sad. And yes, it was illegal for Black people to run away from slavery. Remember that? I told you that was illegal. Illegal for integrated sit-ins. It was at lunch counters and bus terminals. Illegal for Black families to use white-only schools and bathrooms and water fountains and voting booths. All of it was against the law at the time. But those laws were unjust, and history vindicated that fight against them. Even though white people once broke unjust laws on our behalf, I'm still not compelled to go out there and do anything for anybody else, especially these criminal aliens. And this is a white woman. This is a white people problem. And it needs to be solved by white people. Just like white people once confronted anti-integration laws and they broke segregation statutes and they divide state authority in the Deep South, they are the ones confronting the state and challenging federal enforcement and dealing with the consequences of their own internal contradictions. What you see happening right now is white people correcting other white people. And that's exactly why this business has nothing to do with us. And we voiced our opinion. We did what we had to do at the polls. And we fought for decades and hundreds of years, actually. And we've lost much and we've struggled. So what's happening on the streets of Minneapolis and actually all across America, these clashes between law enforcement, blocking federal agents and people charged with impeding, assaulting officers. Again, it's a conflict among white people about white supremacy enforcement tactics and, as to whether or not it should be deferred or confronted. That's something on them. But again, this is not a Black fight, and it's not our obligation or our burden to pick it up. And that being the case, the uncomfortable truth is that Black Americans largely benefit from the removal of these foreign illegal immigrants from this country. And that's not hatred. It's just a material reality. We benefit financially because immigration, especially at the low wage end, suppresses wages and increases competition for jobs that Black Americans disproportionately rely on. We benefit socially and economically because these populations of immigrants, they're not being settled in white suburbs or affluent white school districts. They're overwhelmingly being placed in Black or traditionally Black communities where the infrastructure is already strained. You see what they did to Chicago? And of course, they come in with their own anti-black racism, so we happy they gone. Our schools are overcrowded. Our classrooms have to absorb people who don't speak the language, who need extra resources. The housing markets get tightened, the rents rise, working class black families are pushed further out. And when the crime occurs, it's not white neighborhoods dealing with it, it's our neighborhoods dealing with it. And when the social services are overwhelmed, it's black communities absorbing the cost. And so when people pretend this debate is abstract or purely moral, black Americans, look, we hear something entirely different. Once again, we're being asked to shoulder the consequences of policies designed without us for people who never live next door to the policymakers who want to champion these. And before anyone jumps in and says, how can you all not support immigrants when they're black immigrants? Let me stop y'all right there. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna give ease on up out of here. I want to say this. I want y'all to hear me. I understand that the black immigrants are black. I can look at that. I can see that. Okay? But foundational black Americans are not immigrants. We're not volunteers. Okay? We're not newcomers. In fact, we're imports. You understand that? And this country was not built on immigrants in the way people casually say it was built. Immigrants built this country. No, this country was built by settlers and slaves. And the slaves were my ancestors. Not all of them, because we had black people who were here before that. But let me tell you who they weren't. They weren't recent Ethiopian or Somalian immigrants. They weren't recent newcoming Nigerians or Ghanaians. They weren't recent arrivals from South America or Asia. I'm talking about black people who have been here for 500 years plus, whose labor was stolen to build the wealth of this nation from the ground up. So don't insult me or my people by collapsing our history into someone else's journey. At the end of the day, these folks made a choice to come here. And if it wasn't them, maybe it was their parents. I don't know. Could have been their grandparents, whatever. They made a choice. However desperate or undesirable their situation was, it was still a choice. Foundational black Americans didn't have a choice. And that's the distinction that matters. So while I understand that some well-meaning white people feel compelled to fight this fight, I'm not knocking y'all for following your conscience. I'm also clear that this is not my fight, because at the end of the day, it's white people that made up the laws that brought slaves over here. And it's white people that created this immigration system. And it's white people that have benefited from this white supremacist racist system that now they have to watch target black and brown people, criminal or otherwise. So this is a white people fight. But what I am clear about is that this is not my fight. We've already had ours. We paid for it in chains and blood and lost generations. And now it's time for the rest. Shout out to all the black people, man. It's time for us to rest. God bless you all. I love you. I appreciate you all. I hope you all appreciate this broadcast. And shout out to everybody who came through with the super chat afterward. We got 23 super chats. Shout out to everybody on the rebroadcast, man. Y'all make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Help me get to 100,000. And again, I don't make a lot of money doing this stuff, but I do make a lot of money practicing law because I'm good at it. So if you've been involved in a car accident, y'all make sure y'all hit me up at 713-229-0770. That's 713-229-0770. I'm licensed in multiple states. I got friends all across the country that practice law that I trust and work with. So other than that, God bless you all. I love you. And as I always say at this time, I'm out.
In the Spurling podcast, hit the like button, subscribe.